Do do do, theme song. Do do do, I'm broke so this is my theme song. Do do do, just imagine this is an awesome theme song. Do do, theme song. Is this on? Can I get a signal from the chat that you can actually, you're seeing me right now? There's a bit of delay too, so this might be a bit. I just want to make sure. Oh, okay, you can see me. Hi. Well, hello. Welcome to Left of the Box. Bonjour, bienvenue. I'm Sandy. This is my very, very first live stream, and I get distracted by the chat. I keep on looking back and forth. Sorry, this is new to me. I'm a little bit anxious. I have a large source of caffeine right here to help calm me down, which might sound counterintuitive, but not if you're ADHD. So thank you everyone so much for coming out, and already you have proven my dream wrong. I had a dream that I only got like 2 people in, and at one point it was -1 for some reason. But anyway, the reason why I finally got everything together to do this, to actually do my first live stream, was Frodo got very, very sick. He had lost a lot of weight, and with the new additions of the kitties, I didn't notice right away. So by the time I took him to the vet, he was in really rough shape, very dehydrated and stuff. And the thought of losing him was just, it's beyond comprehension to me right now. I've had lots of cats in my life, but when their time came, I was ready. I was accepting. I wanted them to live forever, sure, but I knew that it was their time. But with Frodo, I just can't with him right now. Even though, you know, at his age and everything, I don't know when I can lose him. I just know it's not now. So I made the decision to just spend what is needed, because if it's something that could get fixed, I wanted it fixed. So the update of the situation. He has been eating for the past week without the need of appetite stimulants and stuff. So he is showing improvement. The scary thing is, I don't know what caused it. The vet doesn't know what caused it. So I don't know if it's just kind of, he's doing okay for now, but he still has the problem, or if he overcame whatever he had. The vet even did extra tests at no cost to me to try to figure out why he had such a high fever when I rushed him back the 3rd time. And all of the like 15 different things that could be causing a fever showed negative, so we don't know. But all of this put a lot of money on my credit card. Fortunately, I have the room on the credit card, but staying in debt for any period of time gives me a lot of anxiety. And despite that, going into debt for Frodo, I was at peace with that. But I would appreciate everyone's help in getting me out of that debt. Frodo he's the best cat in the world. He loves to have bedtime snuggles, morning snuggles. They're the sweetest things. I spoon him. I get to spoon him. And he's a big cat, and I get to spoon, and it's amazing. And he might make an appearance at some point. I would imagine at some point one of the cats are going to come up here and try to chew on the cords. So to help me out, what you can do is I have a couple links in the description box below. One is for PayPal, and one is for e-transfers. In Canada, that's a thing. That's actually very convenient and easy. So if you're Canadian, you can do an e-transfer to my Gmail account that I have down there. Or if you're not Canadian, you can use PayPal. Americans, keep in mind that the exchange rate works in my favor, so you're donating more than you think originally. So I first kind of gave an update on where I was with his bill on my YouTube page, and I was very, very wrong with that number. A lot of anxiety mismatched numbers, missing a bill and stuff. So I put it in an Excel spreadsheet so I would know exactly where I'm at. So Frodo's bills in total were $2,166.24. And in American, that probably sounds really high, and it is, but keep in mind exchange rates probably putting that at 1,800 or I don't know. It's like 80 cents to the dollar. So far, through the generosity of other people, I have raised $1,293.86. Thank you. I can't thank you enough about that. It is just so amazing. And so all that remains is $872.38. If we can hit that by the end of this stream, plus an additional $150, I will do one of my portraits for a person living with poverty at no cost to them. I would be randomly picking them. The reason why it has to be $150 is just to cover the cost of supplies on my end. Because when I do this for a person with poverty, the shipping is covered. I will also throw in a frame because most people living with poverty can't get a decent frame. So the $150, I don't make any money from that. But I will be donating my time into making the portrait for a person living with poverty. So if we hit that goal of $872 plus another $150, a person living with poverty will receive an amazing portrait of a loved one that goes for about $500. So let's see if we can get there. To help me with my first live stream, I have a couple of really exciting guests, and I chose them because they know how to talk, in case I get a little tongue-tied here. So the first guest that we have on is the Letterhack. Most of you know him through his fun cartoons and his channel, all which will be linked below. So I will be right back, and joining me is the Letterhack.
Okay.
And you will in... Well, you are now live. Okay, sorry. Yeah, I hit that. Okay, so you are live now.
Okay. Hello. How's everyone doing? Thank you for having me, Sandy.
Oh, thank you for coming on. I'm getting distracted. There's actually people in my chat, and it's moving, and I see it out of the corner of my eye, and I want to respond to like everyone. But
yeah, that's my hang up when I do live streams is I'm constantly going back up and going, okay, who did I miss? And then when I get down to the bottom, it's like, oh no, I did just miss a whole bunch. But thanks for having me.
Yeah.
This is actually the closest I've gotten to visiting Canada.
Ah.
And I'm sorry, I don't know any French. So
Yeah, I know.
that's not going to be an issue.
I've heard you try to say French words. I know.
Bon dissonné.
What?
That sounded a little more natural. Bon dissonné.
Sure.
That's how they say comic book.
Ah, okay.
I think if I were in a comic shop, they'd say, "Yes, we understand that."
Okay. Oh, I'm
No?
I'm scrolling through the chat right now, and I've had a couple super chats. Oh my God, they're my first
read
super
'em.
chats.
You gotta read them. That's a rule.
Do they show up anywhere else outside of the chat, or do I have to scroll up to see them?
I think they're at the top. They're at the top of the chat, and then later you can look at them in YouTube Studio.
Because I'm looking at the YouTube studio and I don't see them other
Well,
than
they
in
don't
the
show
chat.
up right away.
Okay. So we have one from, and you see, this is going to be part of my issue with reading out super chats and stuff. I'm horrible sight reading names. I just.
Oh yeah. But,
Like
well,
everyone kind of gets on Sam's case about his ability to not be able. It's like no, he's compared to me, he's a pro. Like it's just
right.
so Hyacinth, Athens.
I'm gonna say that is Hyacinth de Athenis.
The Athenas, yeah, Athenas. Okay, I see that. And they say, hey, can't stick around to watch, but here to support you and your fur babies. My very first super chat right there. Thank you so much.
Wow, nice.
And from the Silver Samaritan, got that one. Pets and or scratches for Frodo and Tulip. You got this. Well, Tulip was the cat that was annoying everyone in the sound clip. She was Frodo's sister, who passed away a few months ago. But now I have the two new babies, Abernathy and Lanier. There's a video about them that people can go check out. That's really cute on how I adopted them, the story behind how Abernathy got his name, and only a true nerd, a nerd that I will will understand the reference to Lanier's name. Can anyone in the chat figure that out? Where Lanier got his name from?
Lanier. That's really familiar to me.
Yeah, anyone who's a fan of sci-fi should know this.
I have way too much like nerd stuff in my brain. I can't bring it to the front unless I know ahead of time I'm going to be talking about it. But Lanier's, that is really, really familiar.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like I read it in a book.
Somebody got it.
Oh, really?
I'm seeing Helpful Fox got it.
What is it? What is it? If they said it, say it.
Well, they said it in short form. Oh, there we go. Adam Taylor said it in long form. So, Helpful Fox said B5, which us nerds know. But it is
I knew it from then.
Babylon 5.
No.
He's a character from Babylon 5.
Hey, and I just want to say to the chat, anyone else who just can't stick around, it's totally cool. Just drop $10 in a super chat and we will totally forgive you right away.
Just so you know,
I mean, it goes to a good cause. Come on.
Yeah, I will try to add up. So the super chats that I'm getting, I'll try to add up to the total, but it's harder because I don't get that money until who knows how many months from now. So if you want to donate towards the vet bill, ideally through PayPal or the e-transfer, but through super chats is fine, and I'll just keep a tally of it at the end, because I think YouTube takes a bit of it, so I don't know how much I'm actually going to get in the end.
Oh, hey, the guy that played Lanier, I met him.
Really?
Yeah.
I saw a video about him that he hated it.
I just had to look it up.
Yeah.
I met a lot of people from TV and movies when I was art directing for Comic-Cons. It was pretty cool because, I was just working, so you're kind of behind the scenes. And then you're like, oh wow, there's famous people in here and semi-famous people. It was really cool. It was fun.
Yeah. Babylon 5 was, it was a good series, and I rewatched the whole thing because I have the box set. Wow. And I rewatched it just a couple of years ago, and it's everything in it, what they're talking about, it holds up so well.
Oh, yeah, cool.
The idea of it
was woke.
Well, an idea of a government coup of sort and taking over the media and fake news and just the differences of immigration and that to a whole new level of making Babylon 5 an independent state and what that meant and stuff. And yeah, there was just a lot in there that's actually really relevant to what is happening today. And
so, wait, now your other cat's name is Frodo. Is that French? Where'd you get that name from? Is that a Star Wars reference or something? I'm just kidding with you.
Yeah, you gotta be effing with me right there.
Have you ever heard of... did you ever hear about the Frodo Lives campaign? There was a English lit professor in New York. I think it was the 70s. Who started just putting out buttons, pins, for her students to wear that said Frodo Lives. And I think she was trying to get people to read the Lord of the Rings more. And then people started spray painting it in subway stations and stuff. And it was kind of cool because it was what is this? What's going on? Why is this a campaign? It was one of those things that they call a happening, where it's just you don't know why, but it's happening, Anyway. Yeah. Frodo. I know what Frodo is.
Yes, everyone should know Frodo.
That's a big nerd.
It's actually weird watching The Lord of the Rings now because whenever I hear Frodo, I'm just associated with my cat now.
Oh, you know what? Speaking of Star Trek and speaking of cats, I gotta remember who this was. There was an artist that I met several times, and I think their books have won awards, where they redo like whole Star Trek cast with cats, and it's really considered. Like the cats are. I don't know why I'm just now thinking to recommend this to you. I should have thought of this a long time ago, but I'll track it down because I've met this person a few times. I want to say her name was Jean, but I could be wrong. I'll have to look into it. But that was that's right up your alley. You would totally dig it.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, so just so people know, I have to hold this little mic right now. It's a little lavalier mic. I've tried clipping it on, but then the sound isn't that great, I find.
That or brush against fabric and stuff like
Yeah,
that.
well, it sounds a bit muted because it's like coming from under my chin. I don't know.
You got another super chat.
Ah, nice. From Ziggy, I hope the super chat helps. I don't have PayPal account. Cats are the coolest people, and so are you. Aww. P.S. I have that same Klingon dictionary. Mine from the 80s. Is yours? I'd rather not say.
So super chats are cool because it's like, and all the Google AdSense that you get through like YouTube.
Thank you, Ziggy.
It's like it's like putting on a winter coat and being like, oh, I got a 20 in here, you know?
Yeah.
I don't know if you have 20s in Canada.
Well, are you talking about coin or bill?
Yeah, see, I'm lost. Where is Canada again?
It's somewhere, if you go north and take a left.
Okay.
Just go north, take a left, you'll find it.
Left is best.
Yeah. Yeah, so I wanted to keep this because it's like a little fundraiser to help raise money for Frodo. And yeah, any way that people can send me money to help cover this bill will be greatly appreciated. Like I said, I'll try adding up all the chats. But again, I'm not seeing where they are all kind of listed. So
I can help you with that. Hey,
yeah.
do you know Klingon?
Do
Can
I
you speak
know
it?
Klingon?
Yeah, like do you ever get frustrated in real life and just say Klingon stuff under your breath and people are like, whoa, what was that?
At one point, yeah. But
I was at a con and there was a costume contest and they were asking, they had some people lined up and they were going to judge their costumes and they were like, just real quick, tell us your name, where you're from. And this guy dressed as a Klingon would not break character and he would only speak Klingon. And the judges were like, okay, does anyone here know Klingon? And finally this girl stood up and said, his name's Scott. He's from Broomfield, or what? It was hilarious. It was like, yeah, she probably just knew who he was.
Yeah.
But anyway, it was cool. That's why I say geeks rule, man.
well, I do dinner theater. I've been in like Royal Medieval Fairs, and so I take on different characters and stuff. And it's fun when people start talking to you. And they start asking you like, so how long have you been doing this? Well, I've been part of this fair for the past 20 years as a pirate or something like that.
Yeah.
And you get to make your characters and stuff. And it was so darling this one time. For a few years, I was Jackie Cousteau, the sophisticated tea-drinking pirate that would hang her head in shame of her drunken comrades. But then later on, they switched from pirates to Vikings, and so I became Ivana B. Terrible. And she was sweet, but completely, has no sense of anything. And I was standing on the line to a food thing, and I was mentioning my cousin Jackie Cousteau was around, and the little girl in front of me, she's like, oh, I know Jackie. I'm like, you do? How's she doing?
That's funny.
It's just kind of cute.
I didn't appreciate the Renaissance Festival in high school, and then, I was like 21 years old and sitting in a bar, and it's like a Friday before the Renaissance Festival weekend, right? And in Maryland, I'm from Annapolis, Maryland, and in Maryland they had like a specific, like, I want to say fairgrounds, but it was a specific area dedicated to the Renaissance Festival, and they would only use it for that. It was like out in the middle of nowhere. It was amazing. And so, we're sitting here at the bar, and all of a sudden, there's like someone in the doorway, like announcing, like heralding the king, and like the royal, what do you call it? Like the procession, the royal party. Like all his people come in first, and then the king comes in, and they held court in the bar for hours. And I was like, okay, I'm going to this Renaissance Festival. And then, I was there kind of hanging out. they it they do like, it's like kind of watching a movie or reading a book. The king held court at the Renaissance Festival. It must have been like 3:30 in the morning. It went all night, and they were just serving beer and turkey legs nonstop. And I was like, why am I just now finding out about this? You guys have a great time. It was amazingly fun. You used to do that a lot?
Well, I did the Royal Medieval Fair here, but I also do dinner theater regularly.
So how is the Royal Medieval Fair? Is that like an actual restaurant, or is that like a Renaissance
we take over the park. You get vendors, food vendors. There's shows, like they do staged fighting combat in an area, and there's like a story throughout the day type thing. And there's little games.
Sword swallowing or juggling.
We
fire,
sometimes have
like
those types of buskers around, and then there's little different activities for the kids. There's whack a night, so they can go and fight one of the knights type thing, and all that sort of stuff. And I just remembered, before I forget, because my brain is really scattered, and I meant to do this in my intro, I wanted to thank the person who just got me from my wish list. It was like a gift box basket that they had put together of cat food, a really cool laser pointer, a scratching post, and a carrying a cat bag taxi. So thank you so much to the person who sent me all of that.
So your cats do like presentations and stuff? What's the laser pointer for?
I'm kidding. They go insane. they chase it.
I've had cats.
Well, the cutest thing with Lanier is I got a cat tree from somebody else. Again, thank you to that person. But also the scratching post at the top of it, they have a string with a palm at the end of it. Lanier sees those, and it is like his mission in life to tear them off. Like he goes at it with such a ferocity. It's just this tiny orange cat trying to rip this thing down for some reason. Like it offends him.
What about natural catnip? Do you do that? Do you grow catnip?
I was just reading somewhere you're not supposed to give kittens catnip.
What? Oh, well, not as a kitten, but like your adult cat. Would you give them catnip?
I did try like with Frodo, but he never seemed that interested in it.
Oh, really? Our cats would go nuts. And like, we didn't let them out, but if they ever somehow got out, you just get out the catnip. Come right back in. It was like the number one thing. One time we had a neighbor with a really tall pine tree, and their cat was stuck up there, and they were like, she won't come down, we don't know what to do. And I was like, hold on, and I just rubbed some catnip between my fingers, and it went right down. It was amazing. They were like, wow. I was like, well, drugs.
Yeah,
kind of how that works.
Yeah, like I read that you're not supposed to give kittens catnip, and then unfortunately I had this old cat toy that I never really thought much of. It was like it was called Dynamite, and it was like something that they could just toss around and chew.
Yeah.
I didn't realize the actual filling was catnip. And so then they cracked it open, and all of a sudden there's powdered catnip like throughout my apartment constantly. And it took me a while to figure out where this was coming from, because I thought it was just like a fabric fill to that thing. Until finally I went to pick it up, and I'm like, this is like almost, oh crap, because there's like nothing left in it. It's like,
that's funny.
That's where it's all coming from. Okay.
That's great. I love that. Yeah, I don't know why store-bought catnip never did the trick. And then, my wife is a gardener. I mean, she's going to college for it right now for horticulture. And so, she grows everything, and she's like, let's try catnip, and wow, that worked. Oh my gosh, it was amazing. I
have had people give me like grown catnip and stuff, and still with Frodo, not interested. I
think the U.S. made it a Schedule 1 drug, though. I'm not sure. That's what they do with everything.
Everything plant-based.
Yeah. Oh, you got another super chat. Jeez.
Thank you, Ziggy, again. Ziggy is wonderful. Just want to say hi to a lot of... Wow, there's like a lot of people. Wow, there's like, 35 people in here and 49 likes. Okay, that makes sense.
Hey, it'd be cool to get Ziggy to hang out in my chat sometime.
Yeah. But we got Mark, we got Bad Lefty, of course, About to Sleep. Sorry, I'm not going to be Tyler Hackner. Wow, I feel like I've made it. He's
I
in my
mean,
chat.
that's how you know. You might as well have a deli naming a sandwich after you at this point.
Yeah. The Sandy sandwich? Ugh.
No, they'd call it the something left of the box, right? Left of the lunchbox.
Left of the box meat?
But there's Tyler Hackner for sure is a sign that your live stream is alive and
Yeah.
well.
Well, thank you so much for everyone coming out. I won't be able to get to everyone's names and stuff. I
There's a lot
really
of people I
appreciate it.
know.
Yeah, I really, really appreciate it. Going to switch to that. Yeah, 35. Okay, so that's the number that correlates with that. Okay. So, some things to talk about because, again, like I said, I want to keep this, kind of light.
Okay. I was I being too serious? Sorry.
No,
I
we
really
were.
do know where Canada is.
Yeah, right.
It's America's cowboy hat. What are you talking about?
No, we were keeping it light. I just, there were actually
got,
things that I was thinking of talking to you about because
Okay.
at some point I'm going to be coming on your show for
Mm-hmm.
drawing and stuff.
In like a formal manner.
Yeah. And you ask questions to some of your guests, and this question would have the potential of just going off onto its own thing if you were to ask me that. And so,
Oh, really? Do you want to save it?
No,
Or
I
you
figure
wanna-
I might
you're
as well
saying you
do it
wanna-
here.
Get it out of the way. Oh,
Yeah, I
okay.
might as well
All
do it
right,
here.
all right. Save me the trouble. Okay.
Well, I know it's something that you're interested in, and that is people's kind of religious beliefs. And
Yeah. Well, yes. I'm more interested in whether they have them.
yeah.
I mean, I'm not inviting people to tell me about them. Like knocking on my door, tell me about. But anyway, yeah. Go
Yeah.
ahead. I'm
Well,
sorry.
we see a lot of leftist people on here, and religion isn't really talked about. Like personal religion isn't really talked about a lot. And I think there's a lot of reasons for that. Religious institutions, I think, are not good. They've been the center of just atrocities around the world and restricting people and telling people what to do. So I don't believe in any sort of religious institution, but if a person wants to believe in a god or something of that sort, that's totally fine. But I don't believe, I actually have a very strong spiritual belief, but it's not based in any gods.
Yeah, it really is. For me, it's one of those things because I was raised Catholic, and it's one of those things that any institution can be corrupted, which means any institution has a chance of being uncorrupted, right? And not uncorruptible, but good and genuine. Now, as soon as there's an authority, and it's okay, well, I need who's in charge here? Who knows the most about our religion? Oh, okay, so we defer to this guy. All right, well now it's going to get weird, right? Now it's we have to do what somebody says. And to me, and I'm sure somebody could argue against this, but to me that right away is a step away from the original intent. And a belief system isn't required to have a belief. You know what I mean? Is that where you're coming from?
Well,
you can read books without the library?
Yeah, let's start at the beginning. So I was a child at one point. It happened. And I think I was in about grade 5 or 6. And I asked the question, who are God's parents? And the answer was, he doesn't have any. And I'm like, how is that possible? So then where did God come from? This makes no sense. And I started to change my understanding of what I thought religion was. And the idea of a God watching all of us, controlling us, but not controlling us, but still everything good is from him or bad is everything, default, it's because of God. It didn't sit with me. And then in junior high, we were taught about other religions, and I started to pick apart different religions. This part makes sense, this part makes sense, and so on and so forth. But the thing is that it wasn't until I was in high school, and I kid you not, and we were talking about, because I had some very religious friends in different faiths, and we were talking about Jesus and the whole walking on water and stuff like that, and I'm like, oh, haha, but really, who believes that? And she's like, but I do. And I'm like, wait, no, you're taking this literally? Like, I was just so blown away that that was the moment I found out that people were taking all of these teachings literally, where I always thought that they were fables to kind of teach lessons. You know, stories to teach lessons that nobody really took them seriously, but they took the intent of the story, like the intent of the purpose behind it, as to have the meaning. And that, yes, there might be a God, but this God hasn't done things like give a book to someone or anything of that sort. You know, there was no Son of God walking on earth. These were just stories to help build the morality through this religion. And so it blew me away, because I'm like, how can you believe that this happened when we know, like, why hasn't anything like that happened since? And if something like that were to happen now, of course we would think it's fake. Like, it's just...
Some people think that about the moon landing.
Yeah.
Why hasn't that happened since? How come we didn't do that? And it's like, well, maybe it happened, maybe it didn't. But one thing is, a lot of people complained about the cost of it at the time.
Yeah. Well,
and I'm glad it hasn't happened. So let's just let it go. But to your point.
Yeah. Well, there's a lot of things in life that I neither believe nor disbelieve. Yeah, sure, they could have happened. No, they couldn't have. I don't know. It has no impact on my life, so I don't put too much thought into it. Like, if we went to the moon or not, sure, yeah, we did, but I don't put too much thought into it, so it doesn't matter if it turns out we didn't. So all through my teenage years and stuff like that, I started to develop my own kind of belief system, my own religion. Although I have a hard time calling it a religion, because again, it's not a structured thing. And I'm also open to having it changed. Like, if I have concrete evidence of something else, then I'm open to changing my mind. Like, this isn't something that's set in stone. Like, if God were to speak to me myself, like, then sure.
Is there any documentation? Have you written any of this down? Like,
no.
Okay, gotcha. I'm just trying to see where we're at.
Well, to me, it's just like, it's a personal thing. Like, I don't see the need of trying to convince other people of it, but some people do find it interesting. So I do believe people have what you could call a soul, but I believe that this is just a natural part of the universe, that it evolved as a natural part of the universe for like all the billions of years of the universe, and that the souls that we have, they're not restricted to Earth, because why would they be? And they're not restricted to, if there's other dimensions, why wouldn't they be there too?
Okay. Can I ask you a question about this? How is that different than someone believing, and I don't believe anybody walks on water or ever has, personally. How is the belief of the capacity for a soul to be independent of a body different than walking on water? I'm just curious. It's not like a challenge so much as what's the difference there for you? Well,
we can actually see somebody go walk on water if they can do it.
But the idea, the belief that it happened, like, you know, because it's almost like the belief that America has military installations around the world because we're the good guys.
Yeah.
A lot of people believe that.
It comes down to, like, I have faith in it. And to me, what the word faith means is that you believe in something that can't be proven. But you have faith that this is the right thing. But that's why I said I'm open to having my mind changed should I be completely wrong. But the reason why I feel this, and this is where people are going to start to think I'm insane, is primarily because of my dreams. And in my dreams, I see other worlds, like worlds that could be Earth but aren't. And in them, I'm me, but I'm not. Like, it's a different sense of who I am. Like, completely, it's me, but it's not me, but I have a history, I have a background, I know where I am. But it's not Earth.
Those are just dreams, though. Okay, so what you're saying is, because I've had dreams, and no one can claim you're insane for things that happen while asleep. If you were saying this happened walking around, maybe. But like, those are just dreams. I mean, I've had dreams like that too. So are you insinuating that or that's the wrong word. Are you saying that your faith is based on the fact that what happens in our dreams is the soul's existence independent of ourselves, and we're just somehow getting like a glimpse of it?
I wouldn't say like not all of them.
Because I dream of stuff I would never think of in real life,
Yeah.
and sometimes I'm like, that was kind of clever, and sometimes I'm like, that's kind of messed up. Why am I dreaming
like
about that?
I wouldn't say all of them. Like some dreams are just processing information from your day-to-day stuff, but I think sometimes you do get glimpses of places you've been or possible places to go. And it's nice.
Are you talking about transmigration, soul transmigration?
Like reincarnation.
But just the soul, not
Yeah.
you. Just the soul is, because I'm fascinated by that subject. I don't subscribe to it, but I think it's awesome. I mean, I think it's a great idea. It would explain traffic jams for one. Maybe there's just a couple of souls down there trying to connect, and it's blocking up traffic.
Yeah, like in the dreams, I have an understanding that I'm seeing everything in a way that I can understand and interpret it. So I look like me, even though in the dream I might be a different gender. But just
Those
so
are just dreams,
yeah.
I think.
And then sometimes I see somebody who is my mom, but they're a friend. But that's because it was my mom. Whereas sometimes I see somebody who's my mom, but that's not my current mom. It's just to indicate that person is my mom in my relationship there.
I think that's just a dream, personally. Have you ever seen yourself in a dream?
Sometimes.
Oh, because that's apparently really hard to do. I had to train myself to do it.
Huh?
To
Sometimes
see your
it's
face,
like watching a movie.
like in a mirror.
Yeah, sometimes it's like watching a movie. But like there's
Okay, so that's different.
Yeah, and there's fun little places. Like in one dream I hiked into the woods, and there was this old mill that had been abandoned so many years ago. Like part of the roof had collapsed in, the overgrowth was in there. But there was a feral cat colony there that I like to go visit. And in this world, genetics had developed to such a point that they could change the colors of cats. So they still followed the same, like a calico's 3 colors, you have your tiger stripes and all that sort of stuff. But instead of the colors that we see on cats now, they could be literally any color.
Oh, wow.
And I would go there, and I would just, go visit these cats because I like cats.
So it was a genetic thing that they could do?
Well, it was something that was engineered at first, but then of course it got out into the wild.
But like this was something you could do after the cat had existed or upon its birth?
It was put into
I want a purple
the birth.
cat.
It was put into the birth. Like they were genetically engineered so that it was part of their genome, so that it could spread into the wild. And that's why there's this feral cat colony, and now most cats can just have random colors.
It's kind of trippy.
Yeah, well, it was really nice. I liked it in there. It was a very calm place to be.
So how does that tie into your faith? In
Because
this theory,
it feels like that's a place I've been to. Like that was
vivid.
A lot of my dreams are very vivid. And some of the neat things is sometimes I will see a TV show or hear a song that I used to like, and I can bring back part of it into this world. And
Okay, something that only existed in the dream. So like you're walking around the song in your head and you're like, where did I hear that? Oh yeah, it only existed in my dream.
I checked.
Yeah, that's wild.
Yeah.
That's pretty wild.
I
Because you don't
checked.
write music, right? Like
It's not really been a thing of mine. I checked, and the most recent one, and I really like it. That's why I would remember it. I checked. I don't think it's a song in this world. But it's so hard to say. Like, it might be.
Can you sing it for us?
Sure, I can sing.
So how's I mean, can at least hum it or whistle it. How's it go?
I'm tired of all these lies. I wanna hear the goddamn truth. This should come as no surprise. It's over no matter what you do.
Okay, somebody soundhound that right now. Back it up a little bit, soundhound it, and see if that's a thing.
Like, I tried Googling those words and I didn't find it. Let's put it that way. But
yeah,
then
there was. I mean, it could be an ABBA song, but I don't recall it.
Well, it was more more musical style, you know, like an Andrew Lloyd Webber type thing.
I've had deals where like I'll hear a Madonna song on the radio, and I was never like a huge fan of Madonna, and I know all the words because it's been 40 years nonstop playing that song everywhere you go, everything you turn on, and eventually you learn the song whether you meant to or not.
Yeah.
I think that's a trip.
Yeah.
Did anyone soundhound that though? That's pretty good singing. You know, my mom was a soloist.
No, I sing.
I mean, I sing.
And there was another song.
Nobody wants to hear it.
There was another song that I heard the chorus of a long time ago, and the interesting thing about this one was I was watching the music video to it, and it was actually Adele.
Okay, hold on. Are we in the dream now or what?
It was in a dream.
Okay, so there's a whole music video because
I saw a
how
music
much
video.
of it can you remember?
Well,
You
that's
know,
the thing. I
like,
don't remember much, but I remember.
see,
So she's
Just a
sitting
dream.
in like a very plain 70s style kitchen with like just a basic table with like the thin metal legs type thing. But she has like a green fascinator on, and she looks pretty dolled
A
up.
what?
A fascinator is a type of hat thing.
Was that French?
I don't think so. It can
A
have like feathers.
fascinator?
Yeah, it can have like feathers and stuff in it.
Well, like at horse races?
Think flapper girls.
Okay.
The things in their hair with the feathers and stuff. And
I didn't know it was called that.
Yeah.
So it's called Fascinator because it fastens.
something like that. I don't know.
That's funny.
And
Cool.
she's sitting in a kitchen with like a very yellowish type lighting, very plain like 70s looking kitchen. But she's all dolled up with this, and she's singing the song as part of the video, and it's and all the little boys don't know what they like, so they play with your heart and they play with your mind. And
That
all
sounds
the
familiar.
little boys don't know what it's like, so they play with your heart and they play with your mind. And it's just, I found that interesting.
That sounds more familiar. Somebody,
Yeah.
is anyone soundhounding
That could be a
this?
song.
I'm really,
I found that song kind of interesting because of that little switch from they don't know what they like to they don't know what it's like.
yeah,
So,
good segue.
yeah.
I don't know if that's the right word. Change up.
But yeah, it's like I've seen so many places that I have a history in.
Well,
and I know people.
Forget who it was. I can't remember what community or belief system has this concept that the dream world is when you're awake and the sleeping world is real. Like right now we're dreaming, and when what we call as dreaming is actually being awake. And if that's the first time somebody ever hit me with that concept, I thought to myself, well, that's annoying because that's really confusing. And why, you know what I mean? Like, why am I working 9 to 5 in the dream world? It's ridiculous, right? Like,
Yeah.
why do we put ourselves through having to get oil changes in our cars and everything if this isn't real? Why are we putting ourselves, why do 400 people have all the wealth and 150 million don't? I don't understand. You know what I mean? It's like, this is all BS.
Well, in these dreams, I tend to go to places that I felt the most comfortable. And they were usually around studying, like school and stuff. Like I'd be coming home from school or stuff. Like there was this one dream where I was on a ferry and it was dark out but foggy. And we were approaching the dock. And the skyline was like New York, but 3 times as high. And I walk in and I take an elevator up to a different level where there's trolleys that connect them. So there are cars that can fly, but that's a luxury. You know, the average person doesn't get that. And so you're in these trolleys that connect to these buildings that are just the size of a block. And when you step off the trolley and into the building, there is like a bit of a gap, but a fear of heights in that environment is just non-existent because you'd be hundreds of feet up. but you think nothing of it as you step over this little gap or as you're hanging in this trolley. And I walked in the building, and the apartment I went into had no windows because windows are a luxury. And the apartment was L-shaped. So I came in and it was like an L-shaped, the bed, the kind of living area, and a kitchen and bathroom there. And I even had something that looked like a cat as a pet. And I was coming home from studying from college.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's like there's just so much detail in these dreams, and just it's the sense of self in it. Oh, there's one that you would like. It's
Hit me, because this is what I always come back to. Like, because people have been talking a lot about, supernatural stuff and the existence of extraterrestrials and all that. And what I keep coming back to is, let's say all that's real. Let's say magic is real, right? Let's say it's all real. Do we have to keep our BS 9-to-5 jobs? Do we all have to keep paying taxes so that all our money goes to funding war? Does any of that stuff change? Do any of our lives improve? Is there greater equity? Is there greater equality? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Is there still slavery in the world? Because then none of that matters. It might be neat, but it's something that the rich can continue to exploit. Otherwise, maybe I'm just too boring and practical. But I really need that stuff to make a difference, or else I don't need it.
Yeah.
What is that, do you think? Am I just a curmudgeon? What's the deal? What's my deal?
This world is a mess. Like, it's just...
That's what I'm saying. Like, give me something cool. Like, aliens are going to come here and not change things for the better? It's like all those science fiction where the aliens come to Earth and get Earth jobs. I'm really sorry you guys came here. That is lame. And your planet must be horrible.
Well, the thing about aliens is, do they exist? Yes, of course. But...
Oh, really?
Would they exist in a way that we could even understand it? No.
Yeah, like it's just plant life?
Well, we keep on putting human motivations onto them, projecting our intents and purposes and stuff, whereas they would have none of that because they're not human. So it would be impossible for us to try to understand why they would come here, because they could come here for something that we simply are unable to think of.
Yeah.
And then even trying to breach the language barrier. There could be people here right now that have been trying to communicate with us for the past 50 years, but their way of communicating is so different than ours that you wouldn't even know. Like, we might not even understand what we're seeing when we see them.
Nope. Aliens need to come here, make it obvious, do some changes, improve things, or get out. If you're here just for 50 years waiting for humans to get it, and you don't realize yet that humans just don't get it, see ya.
Again, you're just projecting your own human...
That's what I'm saying. Like, come down here and change my mind. Change things for let's see some real improvements. Why are we all still going to our jobs? Why do some people have, 6 jobs? Right?
Yeah.
It's like I like the concept where extraterrestrials show up, go, hey, here's warp drive. Everything's going to be streamlined from here. That seems totally unrealistic, but that's what I'm looking for. At least something. Or like in that movie, The Arrival, where they give you a new form of language that helps you bridge gaps in time so that you can avoid dire consequences from poor decisions and war and destruction and global destruction. You know what I mean? Otherwise, help us save the planet. Do something positive. If aliens are here and they're waiting for us to figure it out, that's annoying. At the very
well, they might not be waiting. They might not be
waiting.
Because
as soon as somebody goes, oh, I figured it out. The aliens have been here trying to tell us all this time. We just didn't hear it. I'm going to be like, I don't care. That's annoying.
Yeah. No, it's just we can't project our own human intents onto them because they're not human. And depending on where they're from, there's no way for us to be able to comprehend what they would want. Like, everyone's like, oh, well, if a dog could talk or if a lion could talk, what would they say? But it's like, you don't actually know what they would say because they're not human. We constantly project our own thoughts and feelings. Like, yes, Frodo loves me. My cat Frodo, he loves me. but, but there's no way of knowing, like, if he could talk, what he would say or anything of that sort. Because
You don't think your cat understands you?
I think he does, but he responds in a way that he understands me. But it doesn't mean that he knows.
I mean, they say that talking to plants helps. They say talking to people in comas helps, right? I don't need everything to talk back. I think the sounds you make are sometimes enough, right? Tone, it's obvious. I think if there's such a thing as an aura, then your tone affects your aura, and I think that's, you can kind of see it coming. And I think if cats are more in tune to things, like they say cats can detect earthquakes days in advance, right? Why haven't we tapped into that technology, by the way? But if there's any truth to that sort of extrasensory power, then they can perceive things differently than language or the way that we think we need words and letters and sentences. Cats are like, you guys are wasting your time. Just it's all about intention, vibes.
Yeah, but
I don't know.
Yeah, anyway, that's...
I admit I have a hard time taking it serious, but I don't know.
Yeah, like that's my faith, like, in a nutshell. I have so many dreams that I could tell you about. Some that you would find, I'm sure, like, super interesting, like this needs to be some sort of comic book or something. Like
I think that about everything.
Yeah.
You're totally right. And I do like that your faith is based in the dream world.
There's
because that's really interesting. What's going on there?
Yeah.
What are dreams?
Well, there's this one dream that I was going to tell you about that I think you would really enjoy. And so I'm in this world where there was some sort of disease outbreak that kind of, I wouldn't call them zombies, but it did cause people to kind of go insane, like a rabies almost. And they were...
zombies.
Yeah, they would go into, like, they tended to stay in dark places a lot and stuff of that sort. And so I'm walking home.
So stoner. I'm just kidding.
Yeah, I'm walking home from school, and it's about 5 years after everything kind of got under control. And where I lived, it was like an apartment complex. So you had the different buildings kind of spread out, but we didn't have sidewalks. They were dirt paths that you would walk on to get to your building. And I was walking past one of the buildings, and I saw one of the basement outdoors that you see on buildings. There's just the flat door that you open from the inside type thing. But they had all been welded shut because there is the entire population is struggling with PTSD. And so I get into my building, and they had retrofitted buildings with glass elevators, because some of the fear was that you open a door and you can't see what's on the other side. And so you don't know, and a lot of people be afraid that you open the door and there's one of these things. And I looked at the elevator, and I'm like, nuh-uh. And I took the stairs because I was still super scared that what if I hit up but somehow it went down? Because a fear of basements was a huge thing at this point.
Sure.
And so then I get up to my floor, and I go to my apartment, and again, all the doors have also been retrofitted so that they're frosty colored glass, and you can actually turn the light on from the outside so that you can see a silhouette if there's anything just standing on the other side of the door.
I've seen those.
Yeah.
Those exist.
Yeah, I know they exist, and in this dream, all the doors have been replaced with this.
Okay, I see.
Yeah, all the doors have been replaced with this so that you could turn the light on from the outside to see if there's anything kind of lurking for you right behind the door.
I thought you were telling me something you thought. It's like, I had a dream, and there were these things called cars.
Yeah.
And they have 4 wheels, and
There's
you put tires
most
on
dreams,
them. It's like, hey, Sandy.
Cars, trains, malls are very common.
Yeah.
But no, like, all the doors have been retrofitted like this so that you could actually see if there's something waiting for you on the other side.
Ah, yeah. That's interesting. I do, and, like I said, too much of a smartass, I get it, but I like that it's based in the dream world or the dreamscape, because it, for as quick and fleeting as dreams may seem, it is vast. And it's just our own inability to recall them. And it's funny because when you're under hypnosis, you can recall them perfectly, right?
Mm-hmm.
So they're still there. It's a real thing, and that's why I say it's a vast. If I use the term scape or universe for lack of a better term, but it seems like an endless realm of possibilities. Do you know what I mean? And I think that that's something worth exploring. And people who have explored it still don't have anything concrete, not as far as I've heard. And so I think that's really interesting. I think that if we're gonna, develop a faith or some sort of belief system or some sort of scriptures around that, why not do it with something that's already intriguing to everyone? And that would be dreams. I think that makes a lot of I think logically that makes a lot of sense.
Well, for me, it's what I have faith in because of how I feel in these dreams and how it affects me in this world. And again, it could be proven that no, these are just dreams, it's just a wild imagination, blah blah blah, all that sort of stuff. And so be it if that's the case and there's scientific proof of that. But until then, this is where I'm drawn to. That you have multiple lives, but they're not restricted to Earth. Like you can be on Earth, but it's not restricted. Different places. And so you don't travel back in time, per se. But you can travel to other worlds that look like they could be on Earth, but they develop differently. Like they had a cultural difference in development and stuff. And yeah, some of the things I've seen in these, it's wild. So many stories of places. And then there's other places that I just go to where I haven't lived there. It's almost like I'm checking out real estate for the next life. Like I'm just kind of there as a floating, like not as even a form. I'm just there looking around.
How about all the dreams of stuff that are from this world though? Like I had a dream that I was in a room where there was all these like half-eaten candy bars. And I get really frustrated because like when I eat a candy bar, I open it and I eat the whole thing. My wife will takes days to finish it, and I'm like, I'm gonna finish this for you. I'll buy you a new one, right? Like we can't have part of a candy bar just sitting in the fridge. Like it's too tempting, right? So I had a dream that I was just eating all this partially eaten candy. Makes total sense, but I was a cop in the dream. What am I, the candy bar police? Like, this is ridiculous, right? This is just me being an idiot in real life and in my dreams, right? Like, there's nothing to that. So how does that blend with the parts that we can't explain?
Yeah.
That's why I say it's vast. Because I am the candy bar police.
Okay, well, let's just check.
On that note, see you, Matt.
Yeah,
You
well,
can
let's
go
check.
now.
I have a couple more super chats, I think.
Oh, awesome.
So Ziki says, hey, Letterhack, I have been in your chat. You gave me good advice for my injured drawing hand a while back. I owe you a super chat next time.
Oh, hey, there you go. Fantastic. Yeah, I thought I recognized the name. But, I was just kidding. You don't have to give me super chats. The advice is free.
And
I hope it worked, though.
One from Mithril. Been watching you on and off for several years, Sandy. Keep up the good work. Thank you. And thank you again, Ziggy.
That's a Lord of the Rings reference,
yeah, that's
right?
why I was able to pronounce that.
Yeah, okay. That's what the elves call Gandalf.
Yeah.
See, I'm a nerd. I prove it.
Well, you didn't know Lanier.
I did. I wasn't ready. Hey, you could quiz me on things that I know very well. And if I don't know the quizzes coming up, well, I'm just not good at it.
I'm teasing you about it, but I'm also horrible with that sort of thing because I have a really hard time remembering names. And so it's like, oh, well, that character blank or whatever. So I'm watching, Wheel of Time. I can't name a single character in it.
Oh, is that good?
I'm liking the second season better.
Okay. I always know characters better than actors. Like, if you tell me an actor's name, I'm like, who? And then you tell me the character's name, and I'm like, I got it. But I was kind of the opposite with that Lanier. I didn't know either, really.
Yeah.
I had to look it up.
But I am expecting Dan at 3. It is 3, but I'm not seeing Dan.
Yeah, I mean, it's exactly 3.
Yeah, I sent him the link.
So when I have guests on, they could show up anywhere from 1 hour in advance. that's happened before where I'm just kind of setting up and it's like, oh, the guest is here. I hope they know we start in an hour, and they do. And I'm like, oh, okay, we'll hang out.
Huh?
And I've had guests who show up 5 minutes late. And then, this is the other thing, I'll have guests who hang out for a couple of hours afterwards, which I love. Like, I don't want to say who, but there's one outlet where if the people are from this certain part of, the online left, for lack of a better term, then they always want to hang out and chat for a long time afterward. And I think that's really interesting. It's fun. Some of the best conversations I've had, like, when I'm talking about a previous interview that I've done, I find myself about to reference things that we said off air. And it's like, oh, that wasn't part of the interview, but it was part of that conversation. It was just a part that didn't get recorded.
Okay, well, Dan is now here.
Okay, cool. Well, thanks for letting Dan follow me versus me following Dan, because that's a tough act. I don't want to have to do that.
Well, thank you for coming on. You can plug your stuff, but I'm also going to just play your ad while I take a quick break.
Oh, cool. Yeah, well,
over.
That should do it. But follow me every Monday night, 9:30 p.m. Eastern time at youtube.com/theletterhack. And usually Wednesdays at 8, but I'm sure that's all in the ad, so fire it up. Thanks for having me, Sandy.
Well, thank you for coming on, and links to all of his stuff will be in the description box below.
Bye, guys.
Where is your ad? Here it is.
Hi there, I'm the Letterhack, the cartoonist for the left. Are you sick and tired of hearing the news reported by overpaid shills for capitalism? Have you had enough of being lied to by corporate-funded cable news hosts? Then you're probably looking for an alternative to legacy and mainstream media. Well, so am I. And believe you me, there are plenty of other voices on the left doing good work speaking truth to power. Every week I use my platform to promote them in order to make sure you know that you have options when it comes to listener-supported podcasts, newsletters, articles, and media activism. But there's a catch. I'm an artist and a big nerd, so whether I'm interviewing a guest or showcasing a particular indie news outlet, there's always art involved. So, if you're desperate for a change in who you get your news commentary from, and you're a fan of pop culture, comics, and art in general, check out youtube.com/theletterhack. Live streams are every Monday night, 9:30 p.m. Eastern, but I'm creating more content all the time, so hit subscribe to make sure you get notified. Don't miss out. After all, the need for independently funded left-wing media isn't going anywhere, which means there's plenty of work still to do. So come hang out, watch me draw for a while, and learn about alternatives to the mainstream. That's youtube.com/theletterhack.
Fun. Hello, Dan.
Hi, Sandy. How are you doing?
I'm great. How are you? Everyone, welcome Dan from the internet web, the webby internet.
Yes, it's great to be with y'all this Saturday. It just turned afternoon for me. I was just saying yesterday how I love how confidently Californians will say good morning, like in the middle of the afternoon, even when it is the afternoon over here. So definitely doing that. My weekends are, usually not filled with fun. They're just filled with work. Sometimes I like relax and turn my brain off and watch TV on weekends. But no, I've been doing pretty good otherwise. How's your weekend been so far?
Well, I've been super anxious about doing this. My first live stream to help raise money for Frodo. I'm just checking my email. Let's see. I've been getting some super chats, so I'll have to add that to the end. But really, it's through PayPal and e-transfer if you're Canadian that are really the most helpful ways of sending me money right now to help cover his vet bill. But he is...
So sorry, continue your spiel. I was going to ask a dumb question about Americans understanding Canada.
But Frodo is on the mend. I'm still nervous because at a certain point in a cat's life, if they get sick, generally speaking, they don't get better. I've had lots of cats where this has been the case. Frodo's definitely in that age. And so even though he appeared to be on the mend for quite some time, I was still super anxious that I'm just going to walk home and find him passed out dead. That hasn't been the case so far, knock on wood. But without knowing the actual cause of it, because the vet was unable to determine it, if he gets sick again, then I have to take him back, and this time it would be for an ultrasound, which is another $500 bill. So I'm hoping, whatever it is, he got over it. But definitely the stay in the hospital with the fluid, the nutrients, the antibiotics, that helped him stay alive. But then the other thing it's almost kind of reassuring. Like, I spent a lot of money to find out he's also a very healthy cat, other than what was causing this. Because all of his blood work came back normal. He did have some pancreatitis, but that is fixable. And yeah, his blood work was all normal. His x-ray, other than slightly enlarged kidneys, was normal. So he still appears to be a very healthy cat. He's still, like, he can jump 3 feet in the air still at his age and everything. And I don't know, like, I keep on saying he's going to live till 30. I hope that's the case, but I know it's not going to be. And yeah, I don't know when I can lose that cat. I just know it's not now. So please, people, if you can help by going to my PayPal link. You can also, again, if you're Canadian, do an e-transfer. Oh, we might have a visitor. Abernathy is using my leg as a scratching post. And yeah, I'll also include all super chats that I get in this today. And if by some chance we actually cover the entire vet bill plus an extra $150, that $150 is for somebody living with poverty to receive a portrait of a loved one. In the $150, it doesn't give me any extra money. It's just to cover the cost of supplies, the digitizing, the shipping, sending them a frame with it as well. Because if you're living with poverty, generally speaking, you won't be able to afford the frame either. So, and all that sort of stuff. So exciting. But I wanted to choose wisely who I would bring on to my first live stream. People I knew who could talk.
Thanks. I guess that's been my unknowing sort of quantity, but no, definitely folks check out Sandee's PayPal and e-transfer, which sounds like Zelle for Americans, but maybe less corporate or more corporate. I'm not sure.
No, it's directly through the banks. You just send an email transfer, but it's directly through your banks. So nothing's taken off of it to do it. It's the best way for Canadians to transfer money to each other.
Yeah, no, it took like a private company to get all of the banks to do that in America. And even like, and at least it doesn't cost anything, but yeah, no, that's cool. But yeah, any way you can help out Sandee and Frodo, definitely I encourage folks to do so on a stream that is not mine. But no, yeah, I much understand caring for furry friends. I don't have a cat right now, but I've had a lot of adoptive cats in different places. I've lived in different living situations. So
sorry, I just saw a message from My Dogs Are Goth asking, I sent you something off your Amazon wish list to cancel and send the money instead. Things off my wish list also help because then that's just one less thing that I have to pay for out of pocket. So anything from my wish list, buying that, because I actually put down like cat litter, cat food, a cord for my Yeti mic because one of the kittens chewed through the other cord. And that's why I'm having to use this handheld lapel mic.
Sounds pretty good though.
Yeah. It doesn't sound that great when it's actually clipped, though, because of the angle. But that's why I'm having to hold it, but it works. I will make do with what I have.
Yeah, I totally get you with that. But no, this was so. I guess when you had John Strackbine on just a moment ago, what were you, John? No, I messed up. But someone please clip that. That's gonna be amazing. This is how. Can you tell I woke up like an hour ago? But when you had Letterhack on, what like, what were y'all talking about? What were y'all discussing?
We were talking about my faith, my religion, and dreams. You know, keeping it light.
Very light then. Okay. But then, I'm just kind of it's very interesting. I wish I'd come like with things and questions and stuff to talk about, but it's also like your show, so let her rip. Otherwise, like.
Well, you said you had a silly Canadian question.
Oh, that was about e-transfer.
Oh, okay, yeah. Well, that's not that silly because you Americans don't have it, so.
We have similar things. Like there's, so like you can do transfers like that, but only if you're a business. Or you can do it to yourself to like other accounts through other banks. It's really easy to transfer to someone who has your same bank, of course. But there's like, I don't know, 1,000 different banks in the United States of all different sizes, not to mention like credit unions and other financial institutions. So like there's really like no way to do it. And then, you know, there are companies like Venmo that let you send money, and PayPal as well. But you still have to like make an extra step of signing up for those. And it wasn't until Zelle came along where they just did a deal with like every single bank and credit union somehow. And it works really nicely, like no matter how big or small your credit union or bank's app is, it allows you to send money for free within like 15-30 minutes or so. And that just only started being ubiquitous around like 2020. So just like these very basic things, like you've been one of the better people to explain things to me about Canada and about how like Americans often like sort of like wonderize Canada to some extent, right? But there are certain things about outside of the United States, right, that yeah, there are private solutions to them, but they're, you know, everything that people complain about government, like it's slow, it's inefficient, it's like very costly. So yeah, that's why I made it interesting to me, but I'm the kind of person to be like, how do payments work in other countries? So I'm not sure if that's how interesting I am.
Well, I'm always interested to find out how much or little Americans actually know about Canada. And it's like, do I get on their case sometimes? A little, because there's only 2 countries bordering you guys. And we're also some of your largest trade partners. Our cultures are entwined and stuff. So it makes sense, because when it comes to the broader world, like outside of North America, I know very little about other countries. I do know some stuff, but, you know, I wouldn't say I could find certain countries on a map or anything like that. So I understand that you generally focus on the things that affect you the most. Like, even when it comes to politics in Canada, I know more about what's happening with the provincial politics in Ontario than I do with, let's say, BC or Saskatchewan. Manitoba, I guess, is a province. You know, like there's different things happening and fascinating things happening across the country with the other provincial governments too, but I often don't know that much about it, other than sometimes I know for Alberta politics, I follow on Twitter the Breakdown AB for Alberta, and they do a really good job covering Alberta politics. And so I'll follow them because we recently had the 1 million March for Children in Canada, a huge anti-LGBTQ plus rally protest in Canada that were held by concerned parents of different faiths. And
did they reach 1 million? I didn't know there were 1 million people in Canada.
Well, there's not. That's the problem. Like,
I'm kidding, everyone. I'm kidding. But like, what, 3 million? I know, like,
yes.
okay, I'm gonna guess, and let me know how close I get. 38 million.
It's pretty close.
Okay, like
not
higher
joking.
or lower?
I think the most recent is we've just hit close to 40 million.
Okay,
Yeah, so that's actually, it's pretty close.
okay.
Yeah, and I think it's just important for Americans to know what's happening, with the two major cultural influences and trading partners, because it does have an effect on you guys. Like, Canada has a huge effect on the States, but they tend not to know, they tend to ignore it. But it's like, look at some of the people we've sent down your way, like Jordan Peterson, the Proud Boys, Steven Crowder. Like, they all have ties in Canada, and yet they're having a huge impact on Americans. But their ideology was made here, because Canada is it's a racist country.
As most countries are. I think it's like it's. I mean, not to dismiss Canada being racist at all, but I'm just like it's. I think to that point of, Americans loving foreigners telling us how to think, while those same Americans hate foreigners. But yeah, like the Steven Crowder or the Jordan Peterson or the Gavin McInnes like effect of Canadians doing that with America. I've just always felt like, as someone who's been like spent an extended amount of time outside of the country, I've always felt like the best way to understand a country is to live outside of it and to see like how it's perceived, because every country has propaganda and every country has nationalism. It seeps, and every country has like a myopia to itself, and like it's usually good, because other than the United States and to some extent China and more recently like Russia and Ukraine, like there isn't really much talk about many other countries outside of individual countries. Like, countries only talk about themselves. They have to be their biggest cheerleader, especially internally. That's like where the news is most affecting. But as with many situations, like local issues are the more important thing. When you're able to look at a country's politics from outside of it, you are a little bit removed from their propaganda. So you like would be getting a very different, like, even there's this conversation on parts of the left and parts of the right. I'm not going to get into it because it's politics on a Saturday morning for me, and I don't care at this point in time in my life right now. But maybe you catch me on a weekday and perhaps. But you would get a way different perspective of the war in Ukraine if you were living in Ukraine, just by definition of living in Ukraine. I don't think that's a controversial statement. Whereas in America and outside of America, you have like people on the far left and the far right who are, for different reasons, coming to a more anti-war kind of sentiment. And that's just something that you get more. I'm not saying whether that's good or a bad thing. I'm just saying that compared to Ukraine, where it's a lot more like, well, yeah, duh, we're defending our territory. And it's a lot more like, I'm not saying it's fully unilateral there, but a lot more people support it because that's how the media is perceived. And that's also a local thing there. That is how we sort of learn to get a better sense of countries than the countries may even have of themselves, or have like different perspectives even. So I can see how that happens so much. I just think Americans are too like America centric to be able to like have a lot of exports that America sends over to like England, for example. It's like, okay, I'm the monarchy understander now, and I'm gonna go over to England and tell them how to run their parliament. Like, there's no American that does that, because like we just don't even teach much about our own government in schools. But that's I think that there is that effect. Yeah. I mean, for some reason, we still keep taking Piers Morgan.
Yeah, well, they don't teach much about Canadian history in Canadian schools either. Like, not legit, like, this is actually what happened, this is how our government functions and stuff. It's all been so maple washed. But I did find it interesting this one time. I was at a conference of some sort about poverty at a local college, and there was a group of students there from the United States speaking at this, like participating in this conversation circle. And just hearing them speak about their experiences in Canada versus being in the States. And they're like, we're just so relaxed here. Like there was just like an overwhelming sense of relief because they weren't afraid of being shot every day. You know, the underlying violence that is a constant threat in the States, they weren't feeling that for the first time in their lives pretty much. And it was so jarring to a lot of them. And just like, I can't imagine living like that.
Oh yeah, I'll say when I was younger, I didn't really feel that because I still, in America at least, went to schools where, like, I remember during the pandemic going by some of the old schools I used to go to that didn't have fences all around them, that had like went, okay, now that there's no kids here, we can just build the fences to make sure there's no like shooters that can get in. And these are like fairly, you know, suburban schools and like relatively nice neighborhoods, right? So like but it's also like it happens anywhere. And so like this is to say we had earthquake drills and fire drills, but now they actually have like mass shooter drills in schools now. And so that's just an entirely different frame space. And then yeah, going to in a video that I keep thinking about, but I just like have so much stuff to edit, so I'm busy this weekend. But like there's this video I want to work on that I took when I was traveling, and the like switch in the video from when it comes like a fun little like travel vlog to like a very like semi-serious political thing was how often people I would meet in other countries would joke about, hey, how does it feel to not constantly feel like you're gonna be shot at any given moment? And it was like the level of joking we were on, like having that conversation, but that was all inevitably the joke. Like, haha, America. First thing that comes to my mind is like you could get shot at any moment. And like it's not just like a cultural joke. There are countries and national embassies who are saying, hey, if you go to America, they've been warning about the health insurance for a long time. They're saying like, hey, it's just like get on the first plane back, and that's going to be much cheaper for all involved than you like looking at a Kaiser Permanente in the United States, right? But yeah, that these countries have been warning, avoid American health insurance, and by the way, they carry guns all the time, illegally or otherwise, or legally, and you run the risk of getting shot much more than you do in most other countries in the world. So yeah, like that goes to that thing of in America you just sort of like accepted that, and it's like cost of doing business, and it's a little bit of a nervousness because yeah, like you never know who has, even when you're driving you wonder like, should I honk my horn because maybe they'll get upset and start like shooting, because like that we have freeway shootings now, like that's a thing. So you internalize that, but other people see how ridiculous that is, that it's become like a joke they play on Americans who come and visit them, like the first thing that comes to mind across multiple languages, across multiple cultures. So yeah, like, it's really good to be outside looking in.
One of the things about the gun culture that it feels like it just adds to the problem, and I can't wrap my head around why everyone is still so okay with this gun culture, is the cost of your health care. Because it's not just the threat of getting shot, it's the threat of living afterwards too, with hospital bills. Because
yeah,
like I've been talking a lot of bad stuff about the Canadian healthcare system and how it's falling apart, and all of that is true. However, I still know that if I were to get shot, I can go to the hospital, emerge, get surgery, and not have to pay for it. It's like in that moment, like if you're trying to diagnose something chronic, or you know, you have certain ailments and can take years to get the scans you need, years to get diagnosed, years for that sort of treatment. But for a trauma like a car accident or being shot, you go to the hospital, providing the ER is open, and you can get treated. And, you know, the ambulance, it costs the ambulance around here, it's about $50. Parking for people visiting you. But other than that, you don't have a bill unless you want internet in your room or something like that.
It's a joke of people calling Ubers to the hospital because an Uber could be like, you know, worst case scenario, like surge prices, like $70, maybe like $100 to your nearest hospital, usually less, like 30. And ambulances can be $3,000 as much, which is
cheaper than the price. Cheaper than the price of an ambulance trip is my cat's vet bill. So.
Way to make it full circle.
If
yes.
people donate just for the cost of one ambulance trip, you can pay off my cat's vet bill.
And it is really sad in that case because you not only see people, well, like, yeah, now it's like, oh, cool, now I have to get blood out of my Uber. You're just like an Uber driver, and it's like, okay, well, now I'm this vital service in America. But even going back to that healthcare thing, it's used as, oh, you have the freedom to choose. It's like, no, you don't. You have the, need to find a job that provides you health insurance, or buy health insurance yourself, which is somewhat mandatory. And then, like, especially if you're working with a job like that, and they maybe there's some jobs that offer pet insurance that's included, right? And so that becomes an incentive for them to work you however much they want to, or underpay you however much they want to, because, like, hey, well, at least I get this cool, like, benefit or bonus that helps me, you know, kind of not die, even though I still have to pay out of pocket for a bunch of different things. Unless you get one of these like pseudo investment vehicles that actually you can use for healthcare purposes, because it's America.
Yeah, a lot of people don't even really understand that when it comes to insurance, the level of privilege you have to have in order to just be able to get it. Like, you have to have a certain level, because people are like, well, why don't I get pet insurance for my 2 new kittens and stuff? And it's like, well, each one, the cheapest one that I can find is like $30, but it'd be $30 each, so that's $60 a month. When you live with poverty, you don't have that. You know, you budget in their food, you budget in cat litter and stuff like that, but you really then end up having to roll a dice when it comes to what their health is going to be in the long term, and hope that when the day comes, you'll have the financial means to deal with it. But it is a luxury to be able to have that security, because a lot of people don't understand even that when it comes to mental health care in Canada, it's not covered the same way as physical health care is. And if you look at a lot of work insurance places, for their plans, you can get certain sessions of mental health coverage and stuff of that sort. But if you don't have these insurances, trying to get counseling sessions for mental health, it's very, very difficult. Like, there's some that are funded by the province, but it's not a guarantee, and the wait list can be over a year, and it's like, what are you doing at that point, like, if you're in crisis? And, you know, then of course the conservative governments just want to cut back more and more on those types of services as well. And so, like, I want to get diagnosed with ADHD and autism, but, you know, trying to find a doctor that can do that for me is very difficult, especially if I want to get diagnosed sometime in the next 5 years. So it is what it is. There was one funny thing about that once, the wait list to get into these programs, because there was a program I was getting into for, it was a support, not a support group, but like a program for people who have had more than one attempt on their life. And the wait list to get into that program was over a year. And they gave me a call earlier than that, and they're like, oh, hey, we have one starting up this November, and we had somebody suddenly drop out. Are you free to come in? And I'm looking at them like, should I ask?
How far did they drop?
Like, should I ask?
I make that joke as a survivor myself, so that's why I get morbid about it. But yes.
Yeah, well, that's why I get morbid about it, because it's like, should I ask?
Right.
Uh,
That is interesting. I mean, like to flex a little bit. A similar thing. I'm trying to get like prescriptions to treat my ADHD. If you can't tell by the way I present and talk and organize things already. Um, but yeah, because I have pretty. I mean, it's good for routine care, thankfully, because that's what a lot of folks, I guess, kind of ignore. And I think that's one of the more easy things to do in America, honestly. Like once you do have health insurance, is to get a primary care provider and go in every year or so for like blood tests and general checkups and things like that. Like I think it's weird that I have to go to a building that specializes in this one thing and then go to another building that specializes in another thing. But yeah, I was able to get appointments for these things like within a week or so, because as long as you're willing to like, schlep your way to a couple different things and navigate some online systems that are still like woefully outdated. I'm talking like healthcare.gov circa 2013 and that whole debacle thing, like outdated, right? But like you can still get, relatively routine care in a decent amount of time with some notable exceptions. So like getting a therapist is going to be totally pay to play. Like even if you have good health insurance that covers that, they may be overworking their therapists and they may be on strike. Shout out Kaiser Permanente, friend of the show. So it gets really, I guess I'm curious in that sense, like, does it depend on what you're looking for, or is it just kind of across the board? People are used to, yeah, if I want something that's like relatively routine, like a prescription or a diagnosis, you have to wait like years.
in Canada? Again, people don't realize how bad it's getting, but I just want to see my doctor about lower back pain, and it takes 2 months for me to schedule that appointment. Like, if you have something that's like absolute immediate, you can't function, then you might be able to get it within a week. But when it comes to things like, I have a spot on my skin that I'm worried is skin cancer, it can take months just to see your doctor about it, but then they refer you to a dermatologist, and then it could take a year to actually go to that dermatologist to get it seen. Like, there's multiple health issues that I want to see my doctor about right now, but you go in and they'll tell you talk about the first thing, and then as soon as you're done that, they walk out of the room, because they only deal with one issue at a time too. So you finally wait 2 months to see this, and you talk about this, and they're like, not much we can do about that one, doesn't look like anything, and they walk out, and that's that. Because I have other health things going on right now that I'm like, I need to know if this is a normal thing. Like, I feel like I'm a bit young for certain things to be happening. So I want to know if there's something else wrong. And so it is a struggle. And I just saw the side of my eye, sorry. I don't know how to read super chats at the end, so I'm trying to catch them as I see them pop out from the side of my eye. So thank you to Cheryl for the $5. Cheryl says, sorry I'm late to your show, Sandy. My friend, I am sending you another e-transfer besides the super chat. I sent this just to give you a heads up. Oh, thank you so much. That's very kind of you. Yeah. So I was telling people earlier, but I'll remind people, Frodo's vet bills in total cost $2,166.24. Keep in mind, that sounds like a lot to you Americans, and it is. But after exchange rate and stuff like that, it's like $1,800. And I have received so far $1,293.86. So I still have $872 to go. We got a kitty!
Yay!
And like I was mentioning before, should I get $150 over the vet bill, then somebody will get a portrait. Somebody living with poverty will get a portrait of a loved one, pet or person, at no charge to them. But here, this is Lanier.
Hello. Do you find that the stereotype of orange cats being the most rambunctious is holding true?
He is, I was mentioning it earlier, he has a thing about puffballs attached to the cat tree and scratching post. So they're like attached by a string and it's like a little puffball. But he goes at it and it's like his mission in life to tear it apart and tear it off of there. Like he goes at it with like such ferocity, like it has offended him somehow. And he's like doing road rage on this. So you see this tiny kitten with a puffball almost the same size as his head. And he's just like using all of his might to try to rip it off. And he's ripped off 2 of them. Like the cat tree, the puffballs on them lasted 2 days. And I got a scratching post yesterday and the puffball on that one is almost off. And so then I have to find like another toy that I can tie to the end of it.
That sounds like orange cat behavior, honestly.
But he's also, he's such a snuggler. He's so sweet.
I'm thinking of, I might be making a move in the next couple of months or so. So I'm like not going to put a pet through that. Mm-hmm. But I definitely want another cat once I like settle down in my next place. And I mean, naturally I'm just going to go to the shelter and like, whichever cat chooses me is probably going to be how it works. But there are certain breeds I've gotten like ones I think work best for my lifestyle given like different cats I've had, and like something like a Siamese or a Maine Coon, I just like want another one for sure.
Oh my gosh, his little tongue's sticking out. He does that a lot. That's cute. I wish I could show you. Well, I wanted to make sure that the cats also chose me, and I went with 2 different rescues in my area to go, and then I went and met the cat and made sure, like, is the cat looking at me like they want to come home with me, as opposed, do I feel like I'm kidnapping them, you know? And both Abernathy and Lanier warmed up to me, like, as soon as I got into the room type thing, so. And Abernathy and Lanier are such great buddies right now. Like Lanier is still a lot smaller than Abernathy and follows him around like side by side, and it's cute. And Abernathy can be quite the handful. I didn't realize when I saw his picture and I went to visit him, I just thought he was a really pretty tabby, but he's a Bengal mix. So he's
they get pretty big, right?
I don't know. All the research that I've been doing, it's like it is part wild cat, but not like a large, like a small, almost house-sized cat. But you know, considering his size right now, though, he'd be about 7 months. He's huge. Like he's already cat size, you know, and he still has like another 6 months of growing or so. Major growth spurts are out of the way, though.
I love that. I had a friend who, I think she still does this, but she like not sits for cats, but like fosters kittens. And so sometimes I would go to her like apartment, and her roommates, in addition to like having their own cat that they like foster failed and like kept through the system for their own, they also would have like these 3 or 4 kittens at a time. It was very funny, like once they got to the point of like opening their eyes, the first thing they would do is usually choose violence against one another. And so it's very nice to hear the Abernathy and I'm bad with names,
Lanier.
like I told you. Lanier, right. I'm glad that they seem to be getting along right now. But I'm sure, like, I know cats too well. They just can't be all the time, right?
Mm-hmm. Oh, they're not. Well, they still play fight and stuff, and they're not cuddling all the time or anything. And they're still trying to. At first, when they came in, they would be hissing at Frodo, and Frodo was trying to be patient with them. But then he got sick and stuff like that. And now the kittens are trying to get close to him, and he's like not having it. So it's a little bit reversed right now. But the kittens are trying to wear him down and get a bit closer to him. So
that is really funny.
Yeah. So I wanted to. I was trying to find some stuff that we could kind of go over together that would be a little fun. You know, some things kind of tangentially related to politics, but a little bit fun. It's going to be a little bit complicated given my setup that I have right now, because I'm doing a lot of cheating here with screens and everything to try to make this work. Let's see. Would you be interested in going over the story of John Fetterman being a body double?
Oh yes, absolutely. I didn't get to do it on
Okay.
Power Report because I always plan
Mm-hmm.
too serious of a show sometimes, then just evolves into something like crazy. I'm just like, honestly,
Yeah.
I want it to be like a mix of serious and chill.
Yeah. So
So
the
yeah,
audience will
let's do
just
that.
have to hold on with me because basically I have to put the logo up on the screen so I can make the changes and then we can come back to it. So
No
we'll
worries.
be right back. There we go, like magic. We're back. And
Yeah.
hopefully this looks really cool the way that I have it set up. What you're seeing, Dan, is not what other people are seeing, of course. But you can see here, well, actually I wanted to start with this one. So somebody is claiming this is not John Fetterman, that these are two different people. As you can see, one is a professional photo taken in like a studio setting with a suit and tie for his professional government shot versus some cell phone camera taken in a more dimly lit place and different
Yeah,
facial hair.
the other one looks like a professional shot, but it just looks like it's taken from a different angle. It looks like it's taken, like you said, like a press photo where they're trying to
Yeah.
get an action shot as opposed to a studio setting where it's well lit and the camera is also like raised. There's also different lenses that sort of distort the face a little bit. There's a lot going on here.
Yeah,
For sure.
like I look at this and then I'm like, okay, so this finally makes sense. This has solved the mystery about Superman and why so many people can't tell Clark Kent is
We're all doing
Superman.
it.
Is Superman because he puts on glasses and then nobody can recognize him. And I'm like, that is it. It's because there's so many people like this in America that you just put on glasses and it's like, oh, well, who are you?
They don't teach object permanence in elementary school.
Like, I just, like, sure. Like, the thing is that I have facial blindness. And so there's a lot of times where I won't recognize people out of context or if I see them in a different setting and stuff like that. But even I can tell this is the same person.
I just have name blindness. I already have forgotten Mick Fetterman's first name.
Yeah. I also have name. I can't remember names or faces. So basically, I don't recognize people in public. I just don't. It's really bad. So many people just kind of come up to me and start talking to me. And I do this improv thing of like, oh, yeah. So how are things since the last time we met up? And try to send out like fishing questions to find out the context and how I know them. Because then once I can get that context, it will clue into me how I know them. And some of these people I know really well. Like they could be coworkers. But I'm out at a restaurant and they're at a different table and they come up and say hi and then they walk away and my friends are like, oh, who's that? And I'm like, I have no clue.
Oh yeah, I've been there for sure.
But yeah, like, so for me, everyone is body doubles because I just don't recognize everyone. So I just assume everyone's a new person all the time. But I don't even understand the obsession with this. Because it started, I think, with Nancy Pelosi and tripping or something like that.
So my understanding is like obviously Republican, or at least not all Republican voters, but a large, very vocal amount of them, and ones who are easily exploited by their media outlets, have never really gotten over the fact that John Fetterman won in Pennsylvania, even though he had a stroke and was like, mentally unfit to serve. That's kind of like what this is all going under. This is the, never mind Mitch McConnell, but Republicans will even concede Mitch McConnell. But you have Dianne Feinstein, you have Joe Biden, Biderman, there we go. No relation to Felix Biederman. And then you have John Fetterman here, who are just so sick, they're so ill, like they are unfit to serve just mentally or physically, or a combination of all of those. And so the idea is, there's a Biden body double thing that pops up every once in a while too. There's a Fetterman body double thing, just because like it's hard for me to have faith. So it's that kind of, it's not too far divorced from like a Q conspiracy or like the lizard people thing that you get from time to time. It's definitely just one of those, let's have a fun sort of game or topic to discuss, to talk about like this. But, it's not that fun for me.
Quick super chat from Old Lady Plays. Best of luck to you and Frodo. Thinking of you. Also, hi, Dan. Thank you so much for the $5. I know who that is. Thank you so much. She's a wonderful friend. Well, part of the thing that frustrates me with the John Fetterman and the potential body double thing is the fact that he recently developed a disability. And he struggles with that a lot. And just the amount of people saying that he's no longer fit to be in office because of that, and yet they still put up with Mitch McConnell and Nancy Pelosi too, Dianne Feinstein. Like, oh, those are fine because they're the establishment ones. They're the ones that kind of get on board with what we want. But since John Fetterman, he seems like a little bit of a rebel rouser or something like that. So we don't actually want him in. So we're going to make the fact that he needs a guide, like he has a transcriptor on his phone program so that he can process conversation better. But because he can't do that, then he's not fit for office or something like that. And it's just so, like, people don't understand what it's like with certain disabilities and how often people will just say, well, then you're too stupid to be able to do blank. And I run into that a lot with different things. Like, one thing I'm super cautious of with tweets and things that I do is I cannot spell to save my life. And yet so many people use that as a mark of intelligence. And, you can be smart in some areas and completely unable to do certain things and still be a smart person or something. Or you could be overall not that bright in most things, but be brilliant in one. And it's just so frustrating that they're using his disability to attack him when there's so many other people who are finally like looking at him like they have a champion. Like they finally have somebody who gets it, who's fighting for them now. Because I saw him do a presentation. There's a video of him doing a presentation where he's talking about it and the fact that, some Republicans are pointing to the phone in his pockets like, haha, it's a gotcha, you're using a transcriber program. And it's like, yeah, it's a tool to help him communicate. It's,
ignorance is bliss with them. And it's really, I highlighting what you're saying is that not only does it sort of trickle downward, the ableism, but it has an impact on people because everyone's watching how someone like John Fetterman is being treated, how they are trying to express themselves, and even the hypocrisy behind, we want someone who's unconventional, who is more relatable to a working class person, but by the way, he has to wear a suit in order to be taken seriously or respected. Like it's a thing you almost get a lot in British media, where it's just complete bad faith targeting and harassment of different figures. And he's a public figure, so I don't have like that much sort of like, sympathy in that regard. But the types of attacks they're using and where they're going, it has really bad ripple effects for people who see themselves in John Fetterman and other senators and Congress people who have disabilities, to try to show that they're worth way more than what they have a hard time doing.
Yeah, it's just, and meanwhile, every excuse in the book for people that we see are literally falling apart at the seams. Like even Trump, you know, Dianne Feinstein, Mitch McConnell, they're falling apart at the seams, and yet they're still, nope, they're fine. They're fine. They can go on.
I think that's one thing you could, just getting a pulse and a temperature check in America, you could convince people on both sides about is, I think John Fetterman would survive this ultimately because it's more of an age thing than an ability thing. Yeah. But I think a lot of people are united almost as much as they are on supporting unions, at least as it currently is right now. At the time we're talking, it's like 70 to 80% in support of the UAW strike, and most union support has like support between both parties the same way there. I think the second thing you could get is like where Americans really agree on right now is people being too old to serve, being unfit to serve, having like, you know, episodes as they're serving repeatedly in a short period of time, not like stroke recovery or, you know, an assistant that you use, or an assistive device that you use in your everyday life. Like it is things where we wouldn't want them to drive or operate heavy machinery during these kinds of
at
things,
some
right?
point some people will lose their license because they're no longer safe on the road. Okay, a couple more super chats here. Again, I don't know how to look at them all at the end, so I have to try to get them as they're going. From Fazia, I really can't help much, but I want to believe that every dollar counts. That's what family does, especially the one we choose. Love y'all. Oh, thank you so much. And that's, I think, €5.
You're great, Fazia, yeah.
And the Letterhack, who was just on with a $10 super chat. Thank you very much. It just hit me. It just now hit me. Mithril is what the shirt gifted to Bilbo was made of, not Gandalf's elfish name. Facepalm. Deduct 10 nerd points. Okay, they are deducted.
Good fix, Mick.
Yeah.
Our new joke is messing up Matt's name, but
yes. Here's another tweet about people thinking it's not, he has a body double, John Fetterman. It's like, look here, you can see he has tattoos, but here he does not have tattoos. Ooh, imagine that you can have tattoos on one part of your arm but not the other part of your arm.
This was one of those like things that would go around when I was on like third grade internet, like the chat stuff that was like, oh, if you look at your palm and your palm makes like a certain sort of like shape or whatever, it means like this, that, or the other thing about you. And just like, it's just designed to make you like look at your palm or something. I did the same thing where I was like, I have tattoos in like a similar place as John Fetterman. But like even right now, it's hard for me to show them to the camera. And if I were to do this, it looks like, yeah, like I don't have tattoos. And I was like, are people this stupid? I was doing this for like a good minute. Like, are you this stupid?
Well, the thing is I have tattoos, and they disappear when you close your eyes.
Again, they don't teach object permanence in
close your eyes.
No Child Left Behind.
Close your eyes right now, and this tattoo will disappear.
Look at here, folks. I try to do like George Bush teaching object permanence.
But I like his response to a lot of this stuff, and he tweeted out, I figure if I take up vaping and grabbing the hog during a live musical, they'll make me a folk hero.
Grabbing the hog, that's just great.
But what musical would you picture John Fetterman at for that?
I think the musical that John would get his Fetterman is the I don't know. I think he would do. I can't like yes and this very well, but there's a film that is really popular that has to do with unions that people. Oh, Harlan County, USA. If it was like a play version of that, perhaps he'd be interested with that. I don't know. I just don't see him as a Broadway kind of guy, and maybe he is. That's just not, maybe that's just like a stereotype. But he seems to me like he just wants to watch the game, whatever game that may be.
I just kicked Lanier off my lap, and already he's like, no, I'm coming back on.
They love you until they don't.
Well, there's a very serious story in Canada that just happened, but there's something within it that is not serious that I kind of wanted your opinion on something. So recently there was an assassination of a prominent Sikh leader in Canada from the Indian government, Hardeep Singh Nijjar. So the leader of the Conservative Party of Canada, Pierre Poilievre, was giving a speech about it in the House of Commons. And I want to know if you think this was just an honest slip-up or if it was just a little too familiar. So it'll just take me, sorry folks, because of my setup, it'll just take me a few seconds to switch over to that. Now, okay, we're back. So this is Pierre Poilievre in the House of Commons, and I want your opinion. Slip of the tongue or a little too familiar?
Let me offer my condolences to the family of Hardeep Singh Nijjar. Let me offer my condolences to the family of Hardeep Singh Nijjar.
I love the fake tweet that's underneath there that says, in this video, I drop an N-bomb. Big one, hard R. This is an example of what I call invocation of a slur's power for good. I want to say that was like Vouch Your Destiny who said that. Like, oh my god. That's I was gonna make a joke about how I couldn't pronounce his last name to save my life because I'm just not French that way, but like I don't feel bad about that. In fact, I quadrupled down. I don't need to pronounce that bastard's name.
You wouldn't accidentally let out a slur when you're pronouncing his name?
Can we go back to it? Because I don't know. Maybe I can think of one. I want to be fair.
Pierre Poilievre.
No, I couldn't off the top of my head.
Quite often people just refer to him as PP.
I call him Pierre Peckerwood, maybe.
But he's such...
Peckerwood Polvier.
Like, my actual to honest God fear is that this guy's going to be the next Prime Minister of Canada. And it's just...
Oh yeah, he's the opposition leader, so that can happen.
No, and he's surging in the polls.
I'm very glad that in the United States, like, people, it's usually whoever's like the leader of the House, the Senate, they're like, oh no, I'm good. This is the real job. I absolutely don't want to be president. Like, Nancy Pelosi didn't really have presidential intentions. Mitch McConnell, Paul Ryan, he did for a minute, but you know how that went. Like, he's been made an example out of. Usually you want to work as little as possible, and then if you are in the Congress or the Senate, and then you just like leapfrog your way to be president. But in a lot of countries, like parliamentary systems, you have to actually be the leader of that party, which is, I guess that's worrying.
I just realized I was in the wrong screen for that, so most of you were cut off.
Oh no.
Oh well. It is what it is. Like, you could still be heard, but it was just your forehead.
Oh. Whoopsies.
And then this screen is also not right, so I would have to fix this. If somebody would like to help me out by actually paying for a StreamYard subscription, this would not look as bad as what it just did. Because I'm trying to pay attention to like 5 different things at the same time. I'm just going
I'm
to
sorry.
quickly switch back to just the 2-person view. There we go. We're back.
Nice.
Yeah, because I'm trying to pay attention to the video that we're talking in, but then I have like 3 other screens open, and it's, yeah. And then I have to remind myself that anything I do on this screen, since I'm sharing the screen, it will be shown on the video. It's just, yeah, a StreamYard subscription would really help out with this, as opposed to what I'm doing right now.
Oh, I haven't opened another window. I see what you're doing. Is this OBS and StreamYard?
Maybe.
Oh, yes. I'm so proud of you. I remember when like you were like, oh, I don't really, OBS is really complicated, and you like that's how everyone is. Like you're just like learning it and figuring out. And now you're getting fancy with it. That's that's great.
Well,
That's great. I love that.
Part of the reason why it's taken me so long to actually get my act together to do a live stream, like one of it is when I get to a certain stage, I could really use that hand holding, like somebody who knows what they're doing to just help me set it up, show me, like give me a quick rundown of how to do things. And then I can usually take it from there. But I don't know people who really do this. Like I have lots of friends who have been helpful with this, like just to help arrange the screen and whatnot, and some tech friends who can help me to some extent. But to have somebody who's actually like a live streamer, like please come over to my place to just show me what I'm doing the first round anyway. So with that anxiety of I'm going to do it wrong, it takes me longer to kind of get into it. But then also I feel like there's this added pressure that it has to be like a certain amount better than, let's say, if I were a man just popping up on here. Because, you know, being somebody who presents female and not being kind of young and what's the word for conventionally pretty or something like that, every little mistake I do is criticized so much harder, and then I have to be 10 times better just to get the same level of acknowledgement as somebody else. And so I'm super stressed a lot of the times about like, how is this going to go down? How is it going to look? You know, I just feel like I have to have the game just so much better in order to get any sort of notice. But there's nothing I can really do. Like, I can't be a man. I can't suddenly become a younger woman. I'm, you know, I'm non-binary, but looking at me, you wouldn't know. So it's, yeah, trying to compete with all these other people. And I come across like all these YouTube channels all the time of like people I've never heard of who have like 800,000 to 1 million subscribers. And I'm like, how? And I look at some of their videos like, I don't get it.
I sort of feel like you answered your own sort of question there. Is like, I have a friend who's 1 year older than me, and we went to the same high school. And he was, you know, just another like black nerd, way nerdier than I was, like more into anime and comic books, whereas I was more of like a computer tinkerer type person. And one of the laziest people on earth. Like we were in journalism together, and it was like pulling teeth to get him to like edit or like contribute anything, but like just a wonderful guy in general. And you know, I went to a complicated school, and I got a number of jobs to move me in a more like media space, to ultimately like do a YouTube thing and slowly build like an audience and a platform. And but you know, like in doing those other things, I didn't get the time to just like purely just work on YouTube and try and fail and create a platform. And so I'm way behind my friend who is the guy I'm talking about, who has like 1 million subscribers on YouTube, who has just been like making YouTube videos since he graduated from high school, which would have been more than 10 years ago at this point. So like it's time. It's a lot of energy. It's a lot of grind. It's things you're like doing very well with yourself as you're growing. And I'm like really proud of you to see it from you. And I knew you could do it. But it's also, yeah, to an extent, I won't be able to relate. I mean, I can relate to having to feel like I'm better than the average like white guy who can just pop off on YouTube with very little political knowledge and like get 1 million subscribers. Fill in the blanks where you want to, but there's
that
solace
Sam Cedar.
you should just look at it like
no, he doesn't know what he's talking about.
yeah. But there is a good thing in at least the way the YouTube algorithm is working right now, where you're still able to work at a niche and build at that. And yes, you're a commentator on the left, and there are a dime a dozen of these folks, but there's all like different niches that we focus on. There's different ways we bring our identities and bring that to a show, style of content, a perspective, and you know, that there's a lot of space for these things, not just in like, you know, just the left ecosystem, but people who are just going around. Like I've discovered YouTubers with identities that I don't even have telling me about stories and things they're going through in styles of YouTube that I don't usually consume all the time. And that's the stuff I like consuming on YouTube the most when I'm not paying attention to politics, which is as much as I can, which is a balance. But that is to say, like, even though it can be sort of frustrating, I think building your niche on YouTube is possible, and like the numbers will go up if you're doing it right. And so there's sort of that solace to have in there, that people are sick of seeing the same thing and they want to see a different thing, and they want to see a different thing in a voice like yours. It's just sort of doing the work to get found in that wonderful little way.
Yeah, I guess part of my frustration is I will hear other groups saying, oh, we need more voices like, you know, non-male voices that are funny, that can do this. And meanwhile, I'm like, but I'm right here. Nobody can hear me. Because I try to add humor. But again, it's one of the stereotypes against women or people who present as female, is that we don't have a sense of humor or the same sense of humor or something of that sort. And so it's like trying to fight against that stereotype. Plus, you know, like I said before, a lot of the younger, conventionally pretty women out there, they just have to show up sometimes and they'll get all these viewers. And sometimes, you know, sometimes they're saying good stuff, so that's great. But then other times what they're saying is just so shallow that it means nothing. So, but, you know, whatever it takes to get the progressive message out there.
Well, like that's how the internet be, honestly.
Yeah.
You can there's an aspect of hating the player, hating the game kind of thing that goes to it, but there's also, I think, ways that you can use skill and experience and creativity and also savviness to your advantage still. And so there's like, yeah, I feel like, in a broad sense, I'm happy that there are different types of people who are out there talking about similar things, because what works for like like pretty people need political voices, and less conventionally pretty people need political voices, and they want to see themselves on screen, and they also want to see the opposites on screen too, right? Like there's like to be more crass about it, pretty people watch ugly people from time to time as well, or they listen to them, or whatever, they don't even know. And there's I think in that, being in our own voice, our own worst critic kind of way, we can really easily fall into comparisons of what we are doing and what we're not doing. But like, really just almost like you say, like, doing is half the battle, and trying to do well is half the battle when you fall into one of these identities. But also, like, there are it's a lot, it takes time, but you're a lot better right now than you were when you were just starting, right? And that's because of the time investment that went into it. And so it's just more of an upwards.
Yeah. Like, my time with Rebel HQ was it was complicated, but one thing definitely that I got out of that was my video presentation became a lot better, just through the sheer being forced to do so many so fast and stuff like that. It really helped me to just tighten up my style and stuff like that.
It's a lot like exercise. It's working, I mean, like, exercise in any kind of way. Like, it can be working out muscles, or it can be because like one thing I'm trying to do is get in more, or like deal with more adversarial content, as in I guess like my peccadillo, my like chip on the shoulder is that, you know, algorithmically, if I do a video that is criticizing someone I used to work closely with, or someone in the media space who I'm like attacking, even someone who's like on the right side of the media space who I'm attacking, like that video will get more attention. And then you have to kind of walk back to making that educational and not just about the dunk fest or about like the attack or the debate, right? But I want to strengthen my skills at responding very quickly to these kinds of things, and I guess debating, as it were. And so I'm going on more shows and kind of flexing that muscle a little bit too, like that ability to debate, that ability to recall information and educate people, and use these sort of adversarial moments to make it feel a little bit better for me, which is less like click farmy, clickbaity, and more like, ha, I've trapped you into watching this piece of content, and now like you are in my audience now. I am going to do what I can do with that, which is like, you know, radicalize people, inform people, that kind of thing. And I think that's a key thing to, like, in a business way, growing a political project, but it's also a key thing into you know, informing other people, getting to change minds and voices and things like that, and getting outside of my head a little bit as well. So that, just that exercise, or an exercise of any kind, will not just make you a little bit better at it, but you'll also feel a little bit more confident in yourself to do that thing. And, you know, other voices will come replace the ones that you're talking about right now. But a lot of the things you're talking about right now, they'll go away because you'll have that confidence and an audience to kind of go with it.
Yeah. Well, I know if I could do anything, like my dream come true for my channel would be basically a Canadian version of the Majority Report. That is what I want more than anything else. You know, where we interview people on Canadian issues and topics for the first half, and then cover primarily Canadian stories and fun stuff in the second half type thing. Like, I'd be over the moon if I could pull that together, but you need a team for that, and I'm kind of going solo.
Doing I'm going to be doing a lot of editing this weekend, and doing a 5-person sort of show, or like, you know, I mean, that's not just 5 people. Like, there are other people who contribute part-time or full-time to the Majority Report that you like never even see on camera. But let's say like a team of about 10 or so, to do that sustainably and to run that at scale and to produce 5 new shows a week, and the ability to maybe one day you have to pocket 2 of them because you want to have a vacation at some point in your life. Like, that is it's a process. That's why it's very hard you usually see teams of 1 person in front of the camera and then some people behind the scenes who might do editing and publishing, and that's about it, to keep it really lean. Or you have groups of people, but they're usually older because they have enough money to like be able to bankroll it, or they're talking about stupid things, like very, very dumb things that allow them to monetize very quickly and do that whole bunch of like hyper toxic masculine guys on a podcast talking down to women who like have microphones but they're not plugged in. Like, there's only which way Western man. There are a few different paths for this, but only a few.
I always imagine myself in some of those situations, and since I'm not a typical woman, because, well, for one thing, I'm not a woman, some of the things that I would say to these guys, I think I just, you know, the autistic brain in me, I'm having all these conversations in my head, so they work out great, but in person, who knows how they would work. But some of the things that I just want to say to these people, like, I have a couple Jordan Peterson videos queued up, but we're running a bit late, and I don't want to take up too much of your time. So I might just save them for, like, a video where I respond to older Jordan Peterson clips that, you know, I never got a chance to respond to because they were before my time on here. But
I'm down to do like one, or if you got like a quick one. But if you think it like needs more time, then go ahead, do what you want.
Well, there's just there is one in particular. I don't know where it's queued up in the video, and I was mentioning it to you before. It's the Vice HBO one, so I don't know what that does to monetizing.
you may have an issue monetizing it, but you might be okay just like playing it through. If you know what I mean. Like I don't think the video will get taken down. It's not like that hardcore, but it'll just be, yeah, you may not be able to monetize it as much. So
Yeah.
tread lightly.
Yeah, I think I'll save it for a different stream because I had things to say about some of these things that not many
Or
people.
pre-record it, so if you have to edit it out, then you can, and you can still monetize it.
Yeah, because there's just some things that he would say that I'm just like, nobody is giving the response it deserves, or they're missing part of what he's saying because he's against the idea of polyamory because you'll have all these men with so many women and they all go after the same men and blah blah blah, and it's like everyone isn't cluing into the fact that like nobody's cluing into the fact that what he's saying is that you have one man to lots of women, but the idea that women would want lots of men is just like a non-concept to him.
Yeah, I kind of crassly would call this the Occupy pussy argument because it's kind of like a Bernie Sanders, like 99% of the women are going to the top 1% of the men, and what we need to do is redistribute, but like, you know, it's not in a charming way where like we're talking about money and actual power. It's like, I mean, as Kendrick Lamar says, pussy is power, but like it's not in that way we're talking about money. It's in this very misogynistic view of how it's like about control, it's about dynamics, it's about like number of women as currency and as like a status thing, and doesn't allow for of course, like we're very far away from allowing gender non-conforming people in a Jordan Peterson kind of world, right? It's just icky to him. But yeah, just even allowing the flip of that dynamic about, okay, what about women and men, and having numerous partners, and why does it always have to be like in that sort of dynamic? But it's big lobster brain mindset to me.
Well, it's the whole idea too. Well, then you do the forced monogamy, you pressure people to get married and make it socially impossible to not get like to divorce and stuff. And it's like, have you not been around society for the past forever? Like this has been an issue. It's only recently been less of a taboo to actually get a divorce. But then, well, you know, if you force a monogamy, then the man has somebody that he can have the sex with. So he's no longer violent and a problem in society. And it's like, so you're just assuming that whoever he is forced to marry this man wants to have sex with him. Because how many sexless marriages are out there? So you aren't solving the problem at all.
I just don't encourage people to take advice from the same folks who are in the year of our Lord 2023 still complaining about the fact that women can initiate divorces.
Yeah, that's just...
It's just not a good sign.
Yeah. But yeah, there's lots of like more interesting takes that I have on some of the older Jordan Peterson clips because, again, it's like he needs to understand who he's talking to. Is it a male or a female? Because then that will determine if he can hit them or not. And
it's like 2 degrees away from a Dave Chappelle joke.
Yeah, because he's like, well, if it's a man and we get in an argument, then it can escalate and then we can go around and then we can duke it out or something. But if it's a woman, we can't do that. And it's like, well, you make it sound like you're disappointed. But also...
It was... Sorry, I was just watching I don't know if they air it in Canada, but a comedian from the Bay Area in California, W. Kamau Bell, has United Shades of America, and it's like a documentary travel the country type series, and he was talking to black trans women in Dallas, Texas, and one of the people he was interviewing, she was describing that exact same dynamic. Is that, okay, well, in a domestic violence situation, men can call the police and say, oh, I didn't know that this was, like, you know, they can be transphobic and say, oh, I didn't know this was a man, and then the police will go, okay, go ahead, you can fight, and then the cops will just leave, and it contributes to this vicious cycle of violence on trans women.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's just this idea of it's okay to hit somebody based on their gender, even though we know that men hit women all the time. And it's like, well, why do you want to get violent in the first place? Like, why is your response to an argument is like, well, let's use violence to figure out who's in the right here. Like that maybe work on that, maybe not do that. I don't know.
Yeah, it's frustrating. But yeah, episodes like that, visibility like that, it's starting to give me more a little bit of hope. And there's also just the fact that, can we like slightly celebrate as I'll like start to wind down here, but at least in New Hampshire, where, you know, New Hampshire is a weird, almost like a conservative Canadian place in America, let's say, where you have like liberal Republicans is an actual thing. Ron DeSantis, the guy who's going deepest as he possibly can into all of the anti-trans, overtly anti-POC type things, is now in like 5th place. Like he's just barely beating Mike Pence in the race. So, and even though you have a number of these laws that are being passed, and like hundreds of laws being passed around the country, United States, you have candidates and people who are running on this type of stuff losing, and losing pretty badly. And so that I try to leave with that little bit of optimism that there is a little bit of wiggle room here to be able to expand the political possibilities, if that makes sense, and fight back this wave of transphobia and start to move towards progress again. But yeah, it's going to be messy, and it's going to be plenty of grifting idiots like Jordan Peterson between now and then, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Even Matt Walsh is losing steam. Like I can tell he's just like, it was very clear from the beginning he just wasn't really talented and good at it. And like he was after I did my like Ben Shapiro focus in 2017 or 2018, Matt Walsh was just coming on the scene on Ben Shapiro's network, and I was like, too stupid for me. At least Ben Shapiro pretends to be smart. At least that was a challenge to some extent. But like, Gish Galloping was new, but Matt Walsh was like too stupid to function.
I don't know how old his kids are, but I imagine once they're hitting their teen years, he's going to have so much to worry about that, you know, maybe the content creating won't exactly be the same.
I, like, on the one hand, I hope that his kids haven't heard a lot of the things he has said about like, oh, here's what I would do if I found out that my kids were gay or trans or whatever. Or like, I'm sure he's like a couple of days or weeks away from saying dated a black person. But the only reason I kind of do really badly want his kids to hear that when they're like in their early teens is so that they can hold it over his head and use it against him to make sure it's like, listen, we can take you to court and it's going to be like, we can represent ourselves off of this shit. You are in 4K Ultra HD. We've got you on recording talking about the type of abuse you would do if you found out about one of us being like this. So like, don't wiggle it away. And I expect my PlayStation 6 and Grand Theft Auto 6 to be delivered outside my doorstep next Sunday. Thank you.
Yeah, it would be. My concern is that they're also homeschooled. So they're very, very sheltered. So it's hard to say, but, you know, in this day and age, you can't shelter them completely. Like at some point, they're going to break out and start seeing things and getting friends and whatnot. And it's a matter of taking it from there and seeing what happens. But, you know, I hope he hasn't hurt them.
Seriously, me too. And it's just so much harder to shelter American kids.
Yeah.
I have a feeling that they will, I mean, they might see the world and they might react in a less than awesome way, but they have a hard time going even lower than Matt Walsh. So
yeah.
Statistically, although if he has like 3 kids, one of them's going to be worse than him. The other 2 might be normal.
He actually has 6 kids.
Oh yeah. Statistically,
again,
statistically, 1 to 2 of them is gonna be like a total shitbag.
Well,
and the others will probably be normal.
Well, the thing is that recent studies say that for the generation that these kids are in, 1 in 5 is part of the LGBTQ plus community. I don't know. Doesn't mean it doesn't mean he will. It just means the chances are there.
Yeah. Ring Matt Walsh for all of the dumb hillbilly money that he's got. Like that's my advice to those kids. And emancipate like the moment you can in at age 16 or 18, whatever the law is in Tennessee or whatever. Just like, yo, dude. Anyways, with that, I need to go do a couple of errands and then do some video editing and do some prep for some other shows. But it was great to be on with you on this. I don't want to say maiden voyage, but like there's no male version of maiden. Virgin voyage. On this Virgin Atlantic sponsored voyage. No, thank you for having me on your first live stream.
Well, thank you so much for coming on.
And thankfully they're kicking me out the door now.
Okay, well, thank you so much for coming on.
All right, good to see y'all. Have a good day.
And I'll be right back. And I am back, and I'm trying to like move around, but Lanier is like determined to stay on my lap no matter what position I'm in. Get the cord out of your mouth, kitty cat. So that's my first kind of live stream. Hey, stop that, Lanier. I have to kick him off. Come on. Ow. There you go. So that was my first kind of live stream with people, but I can still stay on for just a little bit longer before I totally need to go and unwind and detox and watch like a Marvel movie or something. So I'll just kind of take a quick peek at some of the chats here. Again, I don't know how to just go and do like check super chats at the end of the fact. Oh, thank you, Hunger Games, for saying that you liked me on Rebel HQ. I did like doing videos there, but it's complicated, my time with them, that I'll probably get into at some point, just not right now. It's like as much as I liked making the videos and stuff for them, there was stuff. Let's just say that. Let's see, scrolling through. Thank you for coming out, Roller Dragon, who said that he has to go. And thank you everyone for the congrats and stuff on the first live stream. Some videos that I plan on working on in the very near future is I wanted to kind of do a wrap up of the 1 million March for Children and everything that kind of happened with that or didn't happen with that, and the counter protesters to the horrible protesters, and also kind of related into a lot of this was initiated because of New Brunswick, Saskatchewan, doing that thing in schools where they're forcing teachers to out children who want to go by different genders and names. And just, you know, Ontario now also wants to follow suit, and then you have the Conservative Party of Canada basically repeating all the same stuff, the right-wing stuff that's coming in from the States. They are trying it up here, and I don't know why, because it hasn't been that successful in the States. It's basically like the states that were already Republican right-wing controlled are getting away with doing all these horrible things, but the states where that's what they were running on didn't do that well. So I don't know why they're looking at that thinking, oh, we should repeat that up here. Because it's not a winning strategy other than they're just hateful people who want to get in position to do these harmful things, I think is the reality of it. This is just what they want to do. So I'm going to be making a video about that. I also just want to make a video updating everybody on the Doug Ford situation with the Greenbelt, and we have some accountability there, but is it? because, okay, so he's not going to give it away, but I need to look into it further, because apparently somebody was saying that he's now giving the money back to these developers, but with interest or something. You know, Ontario is now having to pay billions of dollars back to them. I have to double check to make sure that's correct, because it should not be like that. We should not be spending our money on that when our healthcare is in such crisis. And as I was mentioning, I did have a bunch of Jordan Peterson kind of clips queued up that I was hoping to go over with Dan, but just given the setup and how difficult it would be here, I think it'll be easier for me to just do them all in my own video. Possibly on another live stream. If you guys are liking this, I can start doing like more politic-y stuff on here and do the whole respond to videos and be in the moment and all that sort of stuff. It will be an easier time for me if it's just me and I'm not bringing guests on, because the way I'd be broadcasting would be much simpler. But I like to have people on to talk to. It really helps me to just have a conversation, because the way I talk, it's different when I'm having a conversation with people. I seem to be able to connect my thoughts better than if I'm just, monologuing to a camera. Although with so many people in chat, it feels like I'm talking to all you guys, and I am, and it's great. And thank you so much for proving my dream wrong, for saying that I was going to have -1 viewers at some point. I don't even know how that would be possible, but yeah, so I'll just maybe a reminder to people about Frodo. I was hoping he would make an appearance, but he sleeps in the bedroom a lot on my bed. He is still doing well. I'm reluctantly optimistic, because again, I'm just so used to cats at a certain age. Once they get sick, they're done. But he seems to be pulling through it. But should his condition reverse in the near future, I have to take him back in for an ultrasound, and that's another $500 on top of what I already owe. So please, if you can, I have the PayPal link below. Canadians can do an e-transfer. I'll add up all the super chats I saw and put that towards the total. It looks like we did not hit the total for the vet bill during this, which is okay. At some point, I will be doing portraits for people living with poverty. If you go to my website, SandeeLovas.com, you will see that there's a tab there for donations. And so what I'm doing is people can donate towards a portrait for somebody living with poverty. And so people can donate $20, $50 here and there. And once that totals up to the amount of covering a portrait, I'll then put out a call and pick randomly somebody who lives with poverty to get a portrait done for them. Because as somebody who lives with poverty, I understand that you also would like to have these things and enjoy these things. And, everyone's deserving of having beautiful art in their life, or something custom made for them, something to remember a loved one by. And so it's just a little way of me giving back. And I'm hoping that, my art business takes off. So please, spread the word, SandeeLovas.com. So far, my only customer has been my mom, which is, moms are good for that. Yeah, so I don't know, unless the chat wants to ask me any questions right now. I saw some questions earlier. I forget what they are. What was it? Oh, something I think about online drama. I'm probably going to stay away from it unless I can use it to make a broader point about something. Like, yes, I've talked about TYT a fair bit and Jank and Anna, but that's to cover broader points about transphobia and the need for inclusive language and things of that sort. But when it comes to like tankies and stuff of that sort, that's out of my field of focus type thing. I don't know much about it. But, if it's something that I come across and I learn enough about it that I can use it to make a broader point, then yeah, sure, I'll probably speak on it. But I'm hoping to really just cover the stories I think people need to hear and the issues people need to hear. And my cats are getting into something and I don't know what it is and it's distracting me. Oh, and that would be Frodo getting into it because the other two are in here. Okay. So, Hunger Games. Yes, you can buy portraits. On my website, if you go to shop, under shop, you can have commission portraits. Oh, thank you, Igloo, for the $10. Positive thoughts for Frodo's and congrats on getting live. Oh, thank you. So, yeah, you can go to my website and order a commission portrait. As I say, they're not cheap, but they're worth the value type thing. They are $500, but that is to cover supplies, overhead, plus the hours it takes for me to do it. And when you look at how much I'm charging per hour, it's actually not that much. So they're reasonably priced for what they are and the quality that they are. And then you also get one of those cute little videos that I've been doing where you see the drawing come alive. And I'm going to be doing that at no extra charge. Oh, I see. It's an attack against Benny. Someone called her a tanky. I'm pretty sure Benny calls herself a tanky, too. I'm not entirely sure. I've been catching just a little bits of that. Yeah. When it comes into trying to justify communism in other countries or so-called communism in other countries and stuff. Again, it's out of my field of focus because we're not there. We don't know what is happening there. We don't know the exact truth. We're just hearing stories, and then a lot of people just listen to the stories that back their biases, the whole, the confirmation bias. Because there's lots of people that will give lots of praise to Canada and how wonderful it is. And then there's lots of people in Canada that will say it's a genocidal state, which it is. So who do you listen to in those situations? Because to some extent, we're both right. Like, there are lots of people who benefit from this country and the way that this country is set up. And to them, this is the best country in the world because it serves their needs, it serves their lifestyle. But then to other people, Indigenous peoples, people with disability, immigrants, refugees, so many other groups of people, this country is horrible. Just horrible. So both are right. Who do you believe? So it can get a bit complicated, but that's why I want to stick more to Canadian issues, is to bring awareness to what is happening in Canada. The medical assistance in dying and how that's more accessible than a lot of the healthcare that we need. Thank you, Karen, for the $20. That's super generous of you. Thank you so much. Yeah, this is so neat. This is like my first live stream and I'm getting super chats. Like, wow, that is so cool. And it looks like I still have 31 people watching. This is really neat. I feel like I should be saying something smart right now to keep you all engaged. But yeah, now that I think I've kind of gotten over the hump of this, I should be able to do more live streams. It's just the nerves of like the first time getting it out there, making sure the setup works. And from the looks of it, it has been working. Of course, like I said, when it's just me and I'm not bringing other people on, it'll be a different setup. Hopefully, if I can get a subscription to StreamYards, then all of this will be so much easier. But until the vet bill is paid off, I'm not indulging in anything like that. I'm not, I'm making do with what I have. It's kind of like when you live with poverty, you get creative. You learn how to work with the tools you have. Like, I remember before I had versions of Photoshop, the things I could do in Microsoft Paint would blow your mind. And it would take me forever and it would, all that sort of stuff. But I could still do it because that was the tool I had that was free. So until the vet bill is paid off, I'm going to be talking into a lapel mic, because just even replacing the cord for my Yeti mic, because one of my cats decided to chew it down. I still have it up here. Let's see. Yeah, definitely not going to work. But luckily it's the cord to the Yeti mic, because the cord isn't attached to the mic, it plugs into the mic. Whereas if they had chewed up the cord to my webcam, that's a little bit more of a problem. So until I get the vet bill paid off, because pretty much any extra money I get, until that's paid off, that's my focus. Because staying in debt for prolonged periods of time can cause me to spiral. I don't do debt well, just given the history that I've had with collection agencies and what they've done. Which, you know, is a sad state to say that even though I live with dire poverty and have very little spending money month to month, because I don't have debt, I'm in a better position than more than half of the population of Canada. And that kind of blows my mind that it should be like that. Because I know most people have debt, but since I've never had a mortgage, all the cars I've gotten, you know, are used cars, and my mom helped me out with that because, you know, her job allowed her to get deals on them. And so, you know, I've never had to buy something where it was like payments. Like, technically speaking, right now the most expensive thing I've bought is Frodo. Because of his vet bills, he is now the most expensive thing in my apartment. So but you know, he is a wonderful cat. I waking up in the morning to him, I can have the worst day and the worst night, but then waking up to him wanting to spoon with me and purring and making me feel loved, it allows me to get up for the day and actually do things. Also knowing that I can look forward to, at night, going to bed and having him snuggle in with me, spoon with me. He does this weird thing where I'll get into bed and I'll start ruffling the sheets around to get set. He'll walk around me twice. He'll walk around me twice and then settle in and just flop on his side and let me rub his belly and stuff. And it's just the sweetest thing. Frodo is, like I said, I've had lots of cats. And he is very, very, very special to me. You're not supposed to pick favorites, but cat parents absolutely pick favorites. I'll give Lanier and Abernathy some time. You know, they're new. They're still kittens and they're still in the health stage. Oh, you are the one making the noise. Okay. Lanier's dragging a bag in here. An empty plastic bag. You shouldn't be... Sorry, he's chewing on something he shouldn't be chewing on. Just a second. Lanier. Sorry about that. He's like the little Groot in Guardians of the Galaxy 2, you know, getting into things he shouldn't be getting into. But yeah, there was a reason why when initially I was looking for cats, I didn't want kittens, because they're cute, but they are little hellions, and yeah, I'm hoping they grow up fast. Because they are, but I love them to pieces. Hey, no, I told you to stop that. Let's just move this out of his view. They have broken some stuff so far, but for the most part, it's stuff I can repair, well, other than the cord. I had to put away a lot of my small breakable things that I like to keep out, my knickknacks and stuff, because they will get destroyed. Anyway, let's see if there's any questions for me in chat. This can be like an ask me anything right now. I have no set time as to when I was going to end this, so, you know, anything can go. Let's see, from Hunger Games, $5. Thank you so much. Benny is a Stalin-Leninist. She also believes in communism. You don't have to comment on it. Benny wants people to drop it to make it stop. Okay, done. I won't comment on it because I don't know enough about it. I, of course, supported Benny with her leave from TYT and everything that she went through with them. I've spoken to her a few times on Dan's show, also privately, especially when I was starting Rebel HQ. I kind of went to her for some advice on just, how to do it. Both her, Dan, and Jeff Wiggins have just been so helpful with me starting my channel and being able to go to them with questions and stuff. And just trying to understand this because, like I said, I have lots of friends who can help me, but they can only help me to a certain extent because they don't know this stuff. And to just be able to talk about some of the frustrations, getting it out, trying to understand what's going on. Yeah, it's all still new to me. I wish I started this when I was a lot younger. But, I was never thinking that I would be starting a YouTube channel until, I got that inspiration from Michael Brooks. Okay, well, to be fair, I was thinking of a YouTube channel, but it was like a joke YouTube channel, and it would have been really silly, and nobody would have watched it. And basically, so I'm a MCU nerd. I watch all the Marvel Universe stuff, not because it's gripping cinematic information. It's more because it's like chicken soup for the movie soul. I watch it to relax and unwind. And so I have seen, at least for phase 1, all of the movies way more than I probably should have. And so at one point I was thinking of doing like a director's commentary for them, where I would be like a fake director, very eccentric fake director, just going over things. Nothing I said would be true, but it would just be like this entertaining thing. Like, you see that bus in the background? That is the stunt bus from Speed. I can't believe we were able to get it. Like, just these totally ridiculous off the wall things. Like, even some more morbid things, like in the first Captain America, the first his first movie where he became Captain America, and he's running after the person who was stealing the serum, and he throws the kid in the water, and the kid is like, "Don't worry, I can swim." And then as the director, I'd be like, sadly, unfortunately, a few minutes later, we found out that wasn't the case. Only just completely weird jokes just thrown in there. But, because you can't just air an MCU movie online, it'd be tricky on how to actually set that up. But you know what? Maybe one time, at some point, I'll do it just because it is fun. The idea of doing these things and having some jokes within it and all that sort of stuff. Anyway, I don't want to be just rambling here without saying anything, which I feel like I'm doing. I want to be saying something substance if I'm going to be here, so let's just check the chat again. Well, thank you for coming out, Hunger Games. If you look at what's the most viewed YouTube videos, it's ridiculous. I have done that from time to time, where I'll just go to the most popular and I'm like, I don't even know what these are. Or then some of them it's just like a bunch of white, I don't even necessarily want to call them men, but they're of the age of being men, but they act more like boys. Like in some sort of mansion, just doing weird stuff and so many cuts and things that, I don't get it. But I've never been part of the in crowd for a lot of things. Let's see. I feel weird that when I look at chat and I'm in the screen, I'm looking like, you can really tell I'm looking way off screen. Well, thank you for saying I'm awesome. Z-Meth? I don't know how to pronounce names. Oh. Yeah. So, yeah, I guess, thank you to Letterhack and Verdan for coming out. Thank you, Michael Brooks, for inspiring me to do all of this. I have a print of one of the portraits I drew of him just hanging up over there, so it feels like he's watching me as I do this, in a way. At some point I want to do another portrait of him, because my skill has been just, it keeps on increasing. And the problem is trying to find a good high definition picture of him. But yeah, okay, let's just check this one more time. I'm rambling and I'm just drawing this out because I don't know how to end a live stream. At least I'm not going to pull the Sam Cedar thing where it's like, and how do I end this? That was my first video. I did a compilation of him just ending streams, like live streams, but very poorly. And I have a compilation video of him doing that. And that was like the first video I had that hit over 1,000 views. Oh, Shaymith. Okay, got that. Yeah, I don't want to be part of the in crowd. It's not for me. Crimson Fire. It really isn't. Let's see. The point. I don't think we're popular. I love what you do. Well, thank you, public utility. Yeah. 5 more IMs. Yeah. 5 more IMs. We need more Sammy Slander. Yeah, he is not a boomer. Yeah, if you go to my shorts, you can see a fun little video I did for his birthday last year. Basically, the quick part of the story is the first drawing that I did to get back into realizing I could draw was a picture of Sam Cedar, because of the Letterhack's challenge, and that kind of blew my mind and opened my world. And since then, I've been doing a couple portraits of Sam. And so when I was working with pencil crayon, I also wanted to see if I could use that as a good luck charm of drawing him as a portrait with pencil crayons. It looks like a drawing. It's not that great. The apple that I drew in it is better. So I had taken some screen grabs of him to try to get reference for the face. And then I was traveling to the show in Brooklyn, and I wanted to give him an actual updated portrait that I did of him. And so as I was gathering up papers one day, and I had these pictures of him from a year apart, and I realized, like, wow, he has a really good smile. And then I look at the other ones, like, it's like a perfect smile. And I actually held the 2 pictures up, and they're from a year apart, so one without a beard and one with a beard. And the expression, the look into the camera, his smile were spot on, perfectly matched. And so I took it into Photoshop and just did some little tweaking because, you know, just some things around the edges and stuff that needed to be fixed. Some background wasn't exact. And so from that, and then I threw it into my video editing program, and you can see it fade into, so you see the one without the beard fade into the one with the beard, and then back and forth a couple times. So if you go to my shorts, you can see it there. It's a fun little video. And then I used music from the AM Quickie. I snipped some music out from that and have some lines. And so it's a fun little video. And then more recently, I've been doing videos of all the drawings I do where you see them blend into life, because I set up a easel in a room where I can get consistent lighting no matter the time of day, and take pictures as I go along, progress photos. And then in the same video editing program, I blend them together so you can see it fade into existence. And I'm going to be doing that for all drawings, and the reason why they're now included in the price is because they're great for advertising. And I imagine once people start to notice these little videos, because they're under a minute, I think that is probably the one thing on my channel that will pick up steam, because people do like to watch videos about art, and these ones are really neat because I haven't seen any other artist do this to that level. Like, I've seen people kind of do it, but the camera's at different angles and stuff, but to do it to the precision that I've done it, I haven't seen too many. And so it's hard to find anything unique online. I'm sure other people have done it, but I get the feeling that there's a good chance of all the videos I do that those ones can suddenly take off in popularity. Anyway, another super chat from Ziggy. Thank you so much. I'm so thankful for your videos, not just for the insight into Canada politics, but for strong, beautiful NB representation. Cats, cats, cats. Thank you so much. You've been a wonderful support for so long. Okay. So, Shay Myth, when are we going to get a video game stream? Do you really want to watch me play, what is it? Oh my gosh, I don't even know the name of the game. Hearts? No, it's not Hearts. It's a card game. Like, do you want to watch me play Spider Solitaire? That's what I do. What is it? It's not Hearts. It's, what's that game where you have to clear up, anyway, all of them are winnable or something like that. Like, if you want to watch me play Mahjong or something like that, I suppose I can maybe set that up for a gaming stream. It is a type of solitaire. It's, Free Cell, that's it. Yeah, Free Cell. I'm very good at Free Cell. So if you want to watch me play Free Cell while talking, I can maybe arrange that. If I get a second camera going at some point, then I can maybe do the more painting while talking. Because there were some other things I was kind of wanting to get into, like life in the universe and, the potential for alien life and all that sort of stuff. Yes, I game like a lot of people who don't do real gaming game. Solitaire games. I actually have this ancient laptop. It is so old. But on it is a Hoyle's games package that I really, really like. So I have kept that thing alive just so that I can keep that, because I can't transfer it to the newer computers. And then all the new games and stuff, it's loaded with ads and all that sort of crap. So it's nice just to have these games where there's no ads and stuff. And I get to play all these little games. And so I have to pace my gaming on it because it heats up even though I have it on a fan belt. But, when that computer dies, I'm just going to be at a loss as to what I do for games, because I really love the games on there so much. But it is an ancient laptop. Okay. You might be able to talk while playing The Sims. I don't know much about The Sims. Okay, I love art uploads. They help with motivation. Yep. I can definitely do more art uploads. See if I can set it up to do painting while talking or something. I have a longer video of doing that. Have you read or are aware of the 3 Body Problem series of books by... I can't read that name email. And no, I don't know it at all. Games with no ads, what we used to call games. Yeah, that is... I miss those days. There was actually one game online that filled my ADHD, OCD craze like nothing else. And it's no longer in existence. I can't find it anywhere. And it drives me crazy because that game was so satisfying on so many levels for all my little ticks. It was spelled Phpei, like pay pie or something like that. And it was like a pyramid type game, card game, where you have like one card and then you can click a card that's one above or one below, and then one above, one below, and you try to clear the deck. But it had like 30 different levels, and just the sound of the cards clicking and stuff like that, and the different difficulties in the different levels and stuff like that, and all the interesting layouts and stuff. And I would just, as soon as I started playing level 1, I was not stopping until I had gone through the whole thing. I wish I could find that game again, but it was on this horrid site called ZapSpot, which was just full of viruses and bad things. I hope I didn't date myself too much with that. I still want to pretend I'm one of the young ones. At times, I have no idea how old people perceive me. So, I don't want to know. I don't want to know. Okay, so yes, I have been rambling for like 40 minutes or something, so I should probably let everyone go. Thank you, everyone, so much for coming out to my live stream. Let me know in the comments, in the chat, while there's still time remaining, if you actually would like to see more live streams from me and how you would like to see them, like with me bringing on more people again, me talking about just life in general. I'll definitely be bringing in politics as much as I can as well. Maybe I'll make the whole Jordan Peterson thing that I wanted to do a live stream. We'll see. Okay. Again, thank you, and I'll see you all. I don't know. I'll have to figure out a good time to do these if I'm going to do them regularly. Figure out a regular time, because Letterhack seems to be hogging a lot of the evenings. I'm going to say it. Yeah, I'm calling out Letterhack right now. He's hogging a lot of the evenings. Like right now, 3 evenings in a week. Come on. And then Thursdays are definitely out, so I think I'm left with Tuesdays right now. We'll see. Okay, great. Thank you, everyone.